What's poppin', Tub Nation? Welcome back to Tub Takes. This is a VGC video podcast where we go over what's been making waves in the VGC scene. Today, I have my co-host with me, Adi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tub Takes. It feels like it's been longer than a week because Worlds are so exciting. But yeah, it's good to be back, and it's good to be here with two players who did really well at Worlds.
Yeah, that's enough from you, Adi. You've talked way too much, all right? I need to hear from the other two people here. We have, I'll just keep going down the line here. We have Montana Mott coming off of a fourth place, don't confuse it with third, fourth place finish at the World Championships. Mott, how you doing?
Hello, Tub Nation. I'm feeling good besides being a little sick, but everything else is good. Obviously, very happy with the finish.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on despite the sickness. I know that a couple of people got it.
I'm feeling better today, so
good. And we also have your Worlds 2025 runner-up, James Evans, with the Quagsire plush. How you doing?
What is it? Hello, Tub Nation. Thank you for having me on, Alex and Adi. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to just talking about the whole thing today.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't remember. We've had you guys both on before. The funniest timing, of course, was like Geo the week before that Worlds actually happened. But Mont, did we have you on the one before that? I believe. I think somebody pointed that out.
It might have been a couple before. It was when you were starting to do your we're gonna do a deep dive into Archetype, and I talked.
Oh, okay, so it was a couple before. Got it.
But it was It was like recent-ish.
Yeah, somebody gave us credit for getting you on before, and I was like, it wasn't like right before. Like, yeah, we have also had James on the show. Like, that doesn't make it a clever call or something. He's just done well before. You know, we're gonna get good players on the show.
I would say, I think the last time you guys had me was like when I got second in Knoxville. It's like Oda level foreshadowing.
Exactly. You know, it was way back then that we knew.
Yeah, they had the script actually.
Yeah. No, I think if you're gonna applaud Adi and I for anything, it's getting Geo on, and then what we did at NAIC. That was cool. And me and him predicted the finalists. Smart money.
Wait, and while we're predicting things, you want to pull up the Worlds draft?
We can get the draft done right away. I'd be happy to just get it done with, man, because it was not chill. James, I had you. Okay. And let's see.
I had 5 players in top 16. And everyone else had 6 combined.
Yeah, it was not close. I actually did a decent job fighting for third or for second, I guess, but I didn't quite get there. Jody got it with. I mean, no matter how finals went, he would have gotten me. But
yeah, which is so crazy because Jody had an awful start to the draft. But yeah, pick the winner. That helps. Also, apparently, I no longer give a shit about this. The news for the latest GC just got dropped, like while recording.
Wait,
so
serious?
We can talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, give me a link.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. I'm down. I mean, we are at like that window, right? This is like right around when the day resets, and so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, live news for you guys. The first. The first GC of the upcoming season, Brand Challenge, of course, is here.
Why is it so early?
August. Oh wait, so the registration opens August 28th, but it plays the Okay.
Yeah, that's before Pittsburgh.
It's in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Yeah.
So Monterey.
Yep.
Yeah, it actually is. They don't have any majors on the first weekend. Reg H is legal, but now we have a almost equivalent, close enough. Anyways, I guess I'll throw this to you two. Seeing as you guys are both auto qualified for the World Championships, do you think you're playing?
No, I mean, if I was having a ton of fun with the format or something, maybe, but probably not.
James, what about you?
What is it? For a minute, what is it? There probably will be like 1 or 2 Regulation H events I go to, like Las Vegas, for instance. But like, I remember when I think it was behind backstage. I was talking to Mott about I was like, oh yeah, we both got our invites, and the first thing that came to mind was just like, oh, I don't have to play Regulation H anymore. Like, I'm free. Like, It was like one of those things where I was like, I think it was literally today where I was like sitting and I was like looking at the builder for Reg H, and I was just like, looking through everything, and all I could think about was like that one like image of like Batman from the cartoon just like screaming in the Batcave because out of frustration. Like, I don't want to play this format. I don't want to do
it. You freed yourself. So, yeah,
Exactly.
every event for the next several months is a choice for you. It's a choice you can make for yourself. You know, you don't have to work nearly as hard. I will say really quick though, I realized that I forgot to do all of the final things from the intro, which is just simply that we are streaming here on Twitch, but we'll also be uploading this to YouTube tomorrow. And if you guys have any questions for both of our World's Top Cut players, definitely leave them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on chat for any questions that you guys want us to answer. Otherwise, we'll continue to just kind of talk about the subjects at hand. Nightbot still doesn't feel like responding though, so whatever. Well, anyways, yeah, GC, this is cool. I mean, Adi, are we playing in this? I guess we probably should.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We don't know exactly how the payouts are going to work for the GCs yet. And that website is not up yet. Yeah, because we know that it's going to be based on region this time around. So the first place in each region is going to get the same number of points. But we don't know if it's the same payout as last year, and if getting top 32 in your region is really, really important, or if they change the payouts to be much lower. Because again, it's like essentially 4 times as many points if you were top 32 to each region. That's not exactly right, but like it's a lot more points out there, making GCs way more important. So yeah, I'm interested to see when they tell us what these GCs are worth. But I think Reg H was most fun in Best of One. I had so much fun in those GCs. I will be playing the GC.
Yeah. We were actually just talking about Nails because somebody mentioned in the chat, congrats to him for getting top 16. I'll definitely pass that on to him. But he got like, what was it, first, second in one of them, and I built that team for him, so that was a fun one. I do like me some Reg H Best of One. It's James with the buy in round 9. Yeah, we can talk about that real quick since somebody's asking about it.
We can talk about that.
What do you have to say?
Like,
anything?
What is it? To kind of like loosely describe it, I do not deny I got incredibly lucky at this year's Worlds. Just in both like I think matchups, my general luck, and like that's the biggest one I think was the buy round 9. It was one of those things that I didn't know until I got to the venue that day. I think like I woke up, just got ready for the tournament, and like my room consisted of Joe and me and Brady, and neither of them made day 2. So like I was just walking to the venue by myself. It was just me alone. So like I'm just sitting there with like my thoughts. And one of the things that like pops into my head, I'm like reading over how many people are in day 2, and it's like 53. So I'm like, oh, someone's gonna get the bye. And I just kept walking. And I get there, and Chris Hahn tells me, he's like, dude, you got the bye. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you messing with me? He's like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm not. Like, check your Arcanine. And it was like one of those things where I kind of like sat in the middle of the venue. You could like see me, because no one was playing their games yet. I was just kind of like sitting there, like running around, like with my hands on my head. I think literally, Alex, I was talking to you for a minute.
I was there. Yep.
Yeah, and I was like flipping out. Just because it does make it infinitely easier. Although like the thing that was on my mind was like now I don't have a round to like warm up and get into it.
True.
I kind of have to go into the last round cold turkey. Granted, it is like a very like small thing compared to you just auto win a round and now all you have to do is win more, like one more to cut Worlds. But it like was one of those things where it's like, to me at least, it like wasn't exactly like all perfect. Just because I got it. Part of me was like, I would have actually liked to get the practice in so that way I could have been like, if I lose the game, then I'm at least like, all right, warm up a little bit, like move on into game 2, game 3, and then be able to like play my next round with some form of like hand warmers behind me. Granted, like again, very like skewed perspective. Like obviously, it was very easy for people to come up to me and be like, bro, that you just got the bye, like that's awesome. And I was like, no, it's not, because I can't like prep for like the rest of the day.
I was in the camp. I saw James sitting there, and I said, like, I can't believe you just got this bye. I was like, they should bring out Ray Rizzo, the secret boss. You should have to fight him for the first round, seeing as there's an odd number. But Yeah, that is pretty funny. And I know that you didn't quite take it completely home, but it does remind me of Wolf in 2018, 2019.
19.
Where I don't know if people know this one or not, but when Wolf won NAIC in 2019, he actually got the round 1 bye. He also got a quote bye in top 8 because his opponent got DQ'd. That's kind of a whole nother story. But he got the round 1 bye, just like randomly. Like, how does that happen to a player of Wolf Glick's caliber of all things? In James's circumstance, he's also a very strong player, but this is a very much smaller pool. You know, he got the bye out of like 50 people, so it's not unheard of. But for Wolf to get it round 1 of NAIC, it was just like, how did this even happen? Like, we even had an odd number to make this happen, and you're giving it to Wolf Glick of all people? Rerun it. Roll the pairings back. Like, what are we doing here? This guy doesn't need a round 1 bye. So funny. All right, so let's actually get done some quick housekeeping stuff. This one actually a day late. You know, we're streaming Tub Takes a bit later in the week, so we couldn't get this one ahead of time. But both Milwaukee and I think this is the one in Brazil, Belo Horizonte. I don't know if I said that right, but those two went live yesterday. I do actually know there was a bit of a controversy surrounding the Brazilian regional because they had the prices absurdly high, and they actually lowered it like within a couple hours before it went live. Like, just I don't know. I just remember people were complaining that the prices were like a 25% of a month's salary or something like that, which is insane. At least the average wage down there. And for US as well, I put out a joke tweet about it just because like we're up to 80 now. I know that was the same for Pittsburgh, but I didn't register for Pittsburgh, so I was really finally getting to feel it with Milwaukee here. And yeah, I guess I'll just ask the question really quick though, because Milwaukee registration is happening. Anybody here doing Milwaukee? Anybody going to Milwaukee?
Obviously, I didn't know whether or not anyone else wanted to go first. I'm probably not going. The first thing that kind of came to my mind, like, granted, this is another thing that's like pretty biased, just because me and Montana have invites, so we're very much like, oh, we just kind of get to do whatever we want now. But the first thing that kind of came to my mind, especially at the beginning of this season, was like, I told a few friends before that like, if the registration prices started to increase, I probably would find less and less time to play the game, just because I didn't really like shelling out $70 to play formats I didn't enjoy anyways to begin with. Like, that was something that I really started to feel with Reg D, Reg E, and now Reg H especially. It's just not something that I really want to spend time playing if I don't enjoy it. And it becomes increasingly harder, especially as the prices go up. Even with like a cash prize that's very, very substantial, it's just very hard to justify dropping essentially a full-priced game every time I want to play my full-priced game. To me, it's like, and I started adding up something like my registrations this year, last year, and it starts to stack up very quickly. Like, registering for 3 events now is around like $240, which is just ridiculous. I like, you'd be spending more on regional fees likely than you would be on like new video games within the span of like 3 months. Not to mention the price of flying out, the price of finding rooming, boarding, food, all that sort of stuff. To me, it's just not particularly something I find like substantially enjoyable. And then it's like always in the back of my mind while I'm registering. Sorry for a little tangent.
No, it's
I'm
good.
not going.
This is the time to be talking about it, because we'll probably be seeing prices like this for the rest of the year. So it will be less newsworthy than when, you know, we're registering for LA or whatever at the later end of the season, and it's also 80. But unfortunate to see this happening. I mean, it's just continuing to creep. I am doing Milwaukee, so I guess, you know, I'll see none of you guys there, maybe some people in the chat, but still looking forward to it, just because this one's kind of like close to home for me, so that one's at least a fun reason to go to this one. Let's see. Go ahead,
I might go to it. I'm not sure yet. I registered because I think, isn't there a refund? Is the refund policy new or changed at all?
That is good. That is good. I'm glad you brought it up. Actually, maybe we talked about that.
We talked about it for Pittsburgh.
I did.
They normally do.
Go ahead, Adi.
Sorry, they normally do refunds. That's like they normally do like 80 or 90% refund. Like they do most of the refund, but there's a fee involved. But yeah, it's like a pretty good deal. We didn't have that last year. They announced it for Pittsburgh, which is good, and I think that hopefully we won't see a lot of people unregistering at the last minute. I think most people who want to go to the regional want to go to the regional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's a really good change to see from both perspectives, because like I kind of understand that like they want to have a head count, they want to know what they're getting into, but also people don't want to be registering just for the sake of registering and then burning that money if they can't go. But with the way that events fill up these days, I heard Pitt is full. I don't know if that's like recent news or not, but I do know that Pitt is filled up at this point. So this one, as far as I know, I don't think Milwaukee is filled or anything yet, but I guess just don't leave it to chance if you think you're going to be going to it. So at the very least, get that in. It seems to be open right now, a day later, but maybe that won't be the case in a week or two. Yeah, thankfully we knew the rule set for this one. That's really nice. I forgot that was not the case for Pittsburgh. Okay. So yeah, we talked about that. I guess it's time to dive right into the World Championships. Then, so because we have a lot of things to talk about with regards to Worlds as well as the post-Worlds announcement, let's go ahead and get into it. And Gio ended up winning the whole thing. I actually ended up saying at the end of last episode, I posted the clip on Twitter, so hopefully people saw it again there. But I said at the end of the call, just for fun, like the winner might be in this call with us right now. And sure enough, Gio ended up winning the whole thing. Hilarious coincidence. I mean, like I could have said that with any group of guests that we had on, but it was still really, really cool to see him win the whole thing. A very cool winner as well. Gio, awesome guy. So happy for him. Happy for him being able to take it all with this team that I still hate. I still hate the team because it's just like decades old at this point in the metagame. Like, what is this guy doing? I think as far as I know, he's changed like an item on the Brute Bonnet, maybe a Terra type. Like, I don't know. Somebody needs to tell him to keep up or not, I guess. Really, really crazy. And so, like, yeah, there's actually nothing to say about the team. We talked about the team when we had him on last week, and I still don't have any brand new comments about this one. It was really cool to see somebody stick with something that they believed in this heavily from the beginning. I think that's the main cool lesson here. If you didn't learn that lesson at NAIC, Worlds definitely taught you that. And actually, it'd probably be a good transition point, unless somebody else has something else to say about Gio's team, to talking about James's team, because James, you also kind of stuck with something, at least a little bit. I feel you had been running similar stuff for most of the format.
So I was gonna discuss this like about Gio's team, just because, as I would say, I don't want to like flex my stuff here as someone who has like also won the World Championships before.
True.
The team that I used was in fact like a team I had been running for I think like 3 or 4 months beforehand. It was just like the same Mega Gardevoir stuff I had been using all of 2018 post Incineroar drop. So it is, I think it always kind of, at least for me personally, I've always believed that Comfort is the best pick for the World Championships, especially, even if it's not exactly what I would argue is the most meta relevant or best like matchup spread. So being able to kind of see that in other players is like very cool to see. It's always not just like I don't want to just be like insane, like putting up like red threads in my corner on my cork board. Like this is the best thing for the World Championships. But I'm really happy that another player got to prove it with another team that's really cool and unique. But my team is also like that. To a degree, which you said, Alex. It's very similar to the team I played at both Milwaukee and NAIC. It actually has like 4 of the same 6. And that was, in fact, how I built this version of the team. I just ripped 4 of the same 6 off of the Weezing team from playing it before Worlds. And I was like, these 4 are really good. Weezing and Chi-Yu suck. Just take them off the team because you don't really need them anymore. And you become a lot less restrained and held back by what those 2 kind of force you into. So, like, it would just be better to run 2 different Pokemon. And I ended up with this kind of build. Although, like, I think admittedly, probably not something I should be saying as a Worlds finalist, this team is just like not very well designed by nature. I think of how it was built in like sheer desperation and very last minute decisions. Like a lot of what I always say, like a lot of this team was built off of like prep at 1:30 in the morning the day of the tournament. And a lot of that was just built off either sheer instinct or like sheer familiarity with how the wheezing version of this team operated. Um so like
Mm-hmm.
granted a lot of that I think carried me throughout the tournament. Just like
Mm-hmm.
knowing what to do in the specific lines and specific matchups. And then you would run into something like Calyrex Ice Rider and Miraidon, and people have asked me like, how do you deal with that matchup? And my answer is just you don't. Like you can't win this matchup. It's just really bad. If they especially if they have something like Scarf Miraidon. Um and like that was something that I think I was just kind of accepting going into the tournament. I did fully expect to just like not do well at all. I expected to go like 2-3 drop. Uh and I openly told people at the event, like while running around and just like playing my matches, I am playing dodgeball today. And if I don't get hit with Miraidon CIR, I will make day 2. And if I don't get hit with more of them, then I'll cut worlds probably. So I'm very, very lucky to have dodged like all of them besides 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I don't know if that's the best example of a team that I would say go into Worlds and dodge, because it feels a little too common, definitely a bit of a risk.
Oh no,
But
it was an awful idea. It was terrible. But like,
but when it comes to these like double restricted formats or formats with like very defined archetypes, I have been telling people that we're solving formats at rates previously unseen in years past of VGC, and you're supposed to pick probably like one team that is a little too common to be like quite weak to, as long as you're thinking that maybe it's one of the lesser used common teams or it's on the way out or something like that. We'll talk about my run later, but like I decided to be weak to like the Draining Kiss Shadow Riders. I ended up playing against 2 of them, but like I felt like it was a team that I was like, this is on the brink of being like a top 5 team, but it's not quite there. And I'm more worried about bigger things, and so I think that it still felt like the right call, despite it kind of biting me there. Let's see. Somebody said, so Alex, how much were you actually trying to manipulate people not to use Groudon? I'll talk about my I'll talk about meta manipulation later, I guess. We'll come back to that one. But yeah, James, so back to your team then. You made a lot of decisions a little bit last minute, still leaning in on of course the original framework of your team. I think the main thing I'm kind of curious about I guess are the new ones, Lando and Incin. Specifically, why was Incin better than Chi-Yu? Because I feel like, Geo had the Chi-Yu. Incin is a very good Pokemon, a very consistent Pokemon. I feel like the Ice Age teams, Calyrex Ice and Koraidon, they use Incineroar really well as well. But what made you think that it was Incin on this team instead of Chi-Yu exactly?
So I think like a lot of the game plans I had at NAIC in Milwaukee, they revolved very heavily around Chi-Yu. So it was kind of hard to drop initially because like the general idea of Calyrex and Koraidon is to really just like hammer home as much damage as possible. I think when you're playing a Pokemon like Koraidon compared to Zamazenta, and Montana might be able to kind of help me with this one because like my general idea was that I always wanted to build around like CSR. I think CSR, like Sash especially, is such a broken Pokemon. I used it in 2022 and I found a ton of success with it there. And I love how it plays offensively. It's just very hard to mess up. But like Koraidon is very different from Zamazenta in that like Zamazenta is both a good offensive and defensive Pokemon. Koraidon is just a good offensive Pokemon for the most part. It's got some strengths over Zamazenta, but like it's very hard to justify a lot of what Koraidon does over Zamazenta when Zamazenta has things like Wide Guard, or it doesn't have to worry about its attacking stat because it doesn't have to run Clear Amulet. It can just like body press everything. Its body press is a little stronger than Koraidon's Collision Course, I think. It might depend on how you're built. But generally it doesn't have to worry about nearly as much with Koraidon. So it's a lot more consistent, I think, when it comes to offense and defense. Like it's more balanced across the board. Koraidon CSR is a lot more just aggressive, and you're gonna have to take a lot more risks with it. Excuse me.
Right.
So Chi-Yu kind of naturally slots in pretty well because it's like, oh, you're already going all in on this offensive play style. It's good for Beats of Ruin with the Calyrex. It's good for the Sun with the Koraidon. Synergizes very well. Bam Boom Bingo like do a lot of damage when it doesn't work nearly as well in like practice, I found, where a lot of people I would see when they played teams like this, they would try leading the Chi-Yu. And the first thing I would often tell people is like, don't lead the Chi-Yu, you'll lose the game instantly. Because if you're expecting to get that far with damage immediately, you're not going to. It's why something like Weezing exists to slow the game down. Just because like you can't win it with brute offense every time. You need something to stop your opponent from matching fire with fire or trying to switch the game on its head entirely. Incin is the typing that you want from Chi-Yu, but it's a lot better at slowing the game down for this restricted duo that really can't do it without some form of fake out or like something to disarm an item or intimidate for survivability, which the other team just didn't have. It needs something to punish passivity, and just really like again slow the game down is the best way to put it. You just don't have that, and when you had it with Weezing, it's very very hard to reposition the board. Generally, like when you play Weezing, you just play Weezing on the field, and then like whatever's next to it is next to it at that time, or Weezing dies, and now you just get to like have two offensive Pokemon. There's not really like room to switch around, so it's very hard to figure out like where things are supposed to go at what time, especially if they don't die at the right times. So that way you can't get like Chi-Yu in, for instance. With Incin, again, it's a lot easier because you have Parting Shot, so like you can just kind of zip around the board and cause problems and pivot more correctly. And if not, like Incin can punish with something like Rocky Helmet. That was like another thing with like with Incin as well. You can give Raging Bolt something like Volt Switch, which means you can keep the pivot up a little longer. Which again helps the restricted duo find places to really weave in and out a lot more effectively than they did with Weezing. So I figured like, okay, those five are really, really good together if you can kind of adjust the synergy a little bit and adjust the defense to balance out more with the offense because you already have such an aggressive combo of Pokemon like the Raging Bolt, the Koraidon, and the CSR are just so good together. And then with Incin, it can really marry a lot of those offensive ideas together. Same with the Bonnet, except it auto loses to Miraidon like really, really badly. You just don't have any answers to that Pokemon entirely. This restricted duo just sucks into both Miraidon and CIR.
So Lando fixes it all.
Yeah, exactly. Lando was the hot fix because I didn't know how to like fix the team in any way to like adjust for it. So the idea was like, all right, run a ground type that can live Miraidon Draco meat. And if not, like then fake it out in Earth Power because they're Specs or Scarf. And for a while, like Lando was just that fix, and I didn't really know how to make it better because like it really doesn't actually beat Miraidon per se unless you get it into the exact right spot at the exact right time, and it certainly does not beat Ice Rider that well. So like it was just the best Pokemon for the job. I don't regret bringing Lando at all. I want to preface that Lando was very essential, I think, for this tournament run. Like I think I played a lot of Miraidons where Landorus came in handy, especially against something like the Fede team that I played, I think, 3 rounds. And it was crucial to winning all of those matches. It was crucial in a few other matches that I wasn't expecting it to come to. Overall, Landorus was a lot better in like actual execution than it was in practice. And I'm very thankful I locked it because like I had Justin Tang and like Tekka over at my hotel, like helping me lab with Brady and Joe. And for a while we were like considering Iron Treads, which was like a horrible decision in of itself. But we were like, there's no other Pokemon that beats these 2 Pokemon. And then Tekka tried to recommend Mamoswine, and that's when I knew I was like, I just lock Landorus. Like, there's nothing else here. Like,
could have been cool to see Mamoswine make it to World's Finals again.
Oh God, no.
Yeah. All right. So that does make a bit of sense then. I mean, like, you do have to get like a little bit lucky schedule wise. I don't think anybody's going to completely completely dismiss that. You know, like if you run into bad matchups every single round, somebody's going to get you eventually. So every run, you know, I've had has had a little bit of things go my way, and so of course, you know, that's totally expected. But Lando was still good enough to make it to the finals there. How many games did you bring it to exactly?
I want to say probably like, it's hard to like recall everything, but I think I brought it to every Miraidon matchup that I did play.
Okay, at least there's that.
It was still very valuable.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the, like, again, it's not one of those things I regret. I don't regret the way this team had to dodge matchups. Again, kind of just to parallel to the prior one good Worlds result that I had besides this one. I brought a team that basically just like auto lost to Zard Y, which was like an incredibly common comp. Especially in 2018's like later part of the season. And it was certainly like the most common thing you would run into on ladder. And it turned like in tournament, I dodged it every single round, and it didn't do that hot at the World Championships that year. Kind of similar to this combo, like the same restricted duo issue I had. But like I think literally my only answer there, funnily enough, too, is Landorus Therian with Stone Edge. Because the idea was like you just scarf Stone Edge, like knock it out before it kills you, and if you miss, then like that's it. Same thing with Sanseer, like if you miss, that's it. It's just not good. But like
sounds good enough to me.
The match, yeah, sometimes it is, but like matchup dodging is a very I would say like it's very much a feasible thing. I tried to justify it as much as possible because in my head I was telling people insane things like, all right, look, if you expect to fight like the most common compositions in the format, then like on average you're probably going to play like 3 Kali Zama, 3 like Miraidon Kali Ice, and then like 3 whatever. So in my head I was like, you're gonna fight 3 Miraidon Kali Ice. All you need to do is one of them then and win the rest of the matchups because you can afford to lose 2 matchups. Awful theory, but it did actually kind of ring true because I played like 2 Kali Ice Miraidons. And I won.
And you did beat one of them.
So, yeah.
That's all you needed to do.
Exactly.
All right. So, let's go ahead and well, I guess I'm seeing that you played them back to back in day one. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then you got yourself a bye in Top Cut. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Mont. You also had the Sash Shadow Rider. It seems like that might have been the ticket to success for Shadow Rider. And I know that you already said this actually in your interview on the world stage, but you might end up repeating some of those things here. I think you said you tried like every Shadow Rider team in preparation for this tournament. Am I wrong?
Pretty much, yeah. I tried a lot of the Sash ones, a lot of the Life Orb ones, mostly
Covert
with
Cloak,
Zamazenta.
Spell Tag.
I did try Covert Cloak on the Fairy one with Miraidon. Yeah, a lot of different ones. Even some of the Sun ones, although I didn't test the Sun ones as much. But yeah, basically, I felt that what the Sash Shadow Rider does is it lets you put some of the weight of the team onto like your other Pokemon more. Like the Life Orb Shadow Rider teams tend to go all in on it. Like it's Life Orb Shadow Rider plus Zamazenta plus like a bunch of support Pokemon, usually like, Rillaboom, Smeargle, Ensign, whatever. And then you're really dependent on the Shadow Rider. Whereas the Sash Shadow Rider teams get to lean a little bit more on some of the other Pokemon, like the Chien-Pao that's on a lot of them, or the Raging Bolt, or the Dragonite on mine. Like it just feels like you're playing with more. The team feels less like trying to go all in on the Shadow Rider, which I feel is just, I don't know. It's nicer in some ways because people are going to show up with like counters to Shadow Rider, make your life super annoying. And I'd rather have other Pokemon that are actually putting in a lot of work. But yeah, so I think right, like getting closer to Worlds, I was like, I want to have a Life Orb Shadow Rider team that I really like and a Sash one that I really like, and then I'll pick like my favorite of the two. So I also had some like different Tailwindy Life Orb Shadow Rider stuff I was testing, but the Sash one just ended up being the way. And then I found out that Samvi was also on it and had this composition of it that because we had just been swapping a lot of ideas about like different Shadow Rider tech that we had seen, or like, oh, we saw there was this tech that Japan used in the grassroots, etc. So we had just been talking and then kind of converged on the fact that D Knight was good. It was basically Shadow Rider, Zama, Pow. Like those were always the three. And then we're like, Dragonite is quite good. So we were like, okay, and then it's Dragonite, and then it's like a matter of figuring out the last two slots, which ended up being Amoonguss and Raging Bolt. But I had also tried like things like Fire Pond, things like Volcarona. But I mean, Amoonguss and Raging Bull are just both very solid Pokemon. And talking about the whole comfort thing, I had used these 6, but with Rillaboom, where Dragonite is at Portland this year, where I got top 8. And that's also the team that I used to get top 16 in the global, in the GC. So I did have a lot of comfort with these 6. I wasn't like thinking a lot about that going into Worlds, but I was like, oh yeah, this is just what I use, would switch out the Rillaboom. And then back then you could run Life Orb, Chien-Pao, and then Scarf Miraidon started picking up, so then Life Orb, Chien-Pao just became kind of unusable, also because Incin was not nice for it either. So then Assault Vest started picking up, and then AV Pow was good because you can live a Volt Switch and a Drift from Scarf Miraidon, and that's kind of how I ended up at these 6. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, and then I guess the other big key thing, the other big differentiator about this team is that there's Icy Wind on the Chien-Pao, which was an idea that Samvi had. He had I think he had it a little bit earlier, but we didn't like actually try it until the day before the tournament. We were like, oh, I think, because we were complaining about the Zamazenta Speed Wars, because with every Caloric Shadow Zamazenta mirror, it's really important for your Zamazenta to body press first. Like those would actually often be determined by the Zamazenta speed. Because also with like POW, you can do like Ruination body press and KO them if they don't Terra. So there's things like that. And I was so annoyed by that because when you do faster Zamazenta, now you die to, well, it depends how fast you want to go. If you want to go really fast, you could die to Timid Shadow Rider +2 attacks. And if you want to go a little, like just a little fast, you'll still die to the modest +2 Shadow Rider. But I had been so used to bulky Zamazenta because I had been running that since Portland. And it's so nice in like every matchup that's not the mirror versus other Zamazenta, that it's like, I was like, I want to run bulky Zamazenta. And when Sammy suggested Icy Wind on POW, I was like, I think that lets me get away with it more, because I'll just be Icy Winding for my speed control. And we did some testing of different matchups where we had liked Ice Shard to make sure that they were still doable without Ice Shard. For example, versus Smeargle, Ice Shard was really nice for like picking it off after you get it down to Sash. But I sort of ran a bunch of games with Chuppa versus the Kinagawa team, the Tornadus Smeargle lead, and we were like, hey, you can still win this with Power Raging Bolt with Icy Wind. So then I was like, hey, let's lock Icy Wind. And then I ended up playing a bunch of Shadow Rider Zamazenta, like a crazy amount. And I was so happy that I put Icy Wind on. And it's funny, all these Shadow Rider Zamazenta players, I had like studied them and like their teams at prior tournaments, or some of them I had even DM'd like a month prior to that, like to discuss ideas with. So it's funny that I ended up fighting so many of them.
It seems like you had a 50% Zamazenta Shadow Rider rate. I'm seeing
Literally.
7
And
out of 14
like,
rounds.
Before that Icy Wind change, I think I would have been horrified by that, because the mirror is it's already so volatile because of the Shadow Rider speed ties. But Icy Wind honestly made it so I felt like I had a favored matchup into a lot of people. And I don't know if I should go revealing everyone's spreads, but some of these were modest Shadow Rider, and I knew as soon as my Chien-Pao moved before them, I was like, oh boy. So, and I felt like I had actually a good matchup into modest Shadow Rider, because yeah, the POW moving first is so good. Oh, Alex, you're not muted. It's fine. But oh, okay, you're good. You're good. But yeah, Chien-Pao moving before the Mata Shadow Rider, which was a meta development that I had been made. I know there was the whole meta manipulation tweet. Who tweeted out? Was it Fede Campo? Who tweeted about
Oh,
Mata
about the
Shadow
Mata
Rider?
Shadow Rider? Oh,
Yeah, I
who
had
was
known about
that?
it a little bit before that because I had heard that especially players in Japan were liking that on the Smeargle teams. But yeah, I was happy that I did kind of have spreads that worked out really well into that because what it was for mostly is it would KO a lot of Zamazentas once you get to +2 on Psychic, so it would help them in the mirror a lot. But I made my Zamazenta really bulky and my POW faster than Mata Shadow Rider. So I actually ended up having a pretty good matchup into those. So yeah, I don't think I had any matchups that I really wanted to dodge, except for I knew Sun was tricky, but I felt I had lines into a lot of the Sun teams, except I felt if they had Brute Bonnet, I thought it was really
True.
hard. And I was like, as long as I don't fight Sun with Brute Bonnet, I'll be good. And that took me pretty far into the tournament until a certain top 4 set. But yeah, the team was very solid. Shout out to Samvi, especially was a lot of like the mind behind, or he was like, trust, like Dragonite is good, Chien-Pao is good, and he had that Icy Wind idea that ended up being solid. So yeah, a lot of fun, and it ended up being a comfort pick as well, just because I'd used all the mons before. So that's kind of how I arrived at that team and how my run went. But
I gotta
yeah.
say, like, this is why we had Mont on for the Shadow Rider Zamazenta episode. Is this guy's special interest is Shadow Rider Zamazenta? Nobody
I
is.
ended up being the highest finishing one, which I was like,
It's
yay!
so
Like,
fitting.
I
So
did it.
fitting.
Like I was like I like got honor for the archetype or something. I don't know.
Right.
What is it? You mentioning the modest CSR thing reminded me because I think I learned a few days before Fede tweeted that they were going modest now, and I was like,
Right?
oh, that's interesting. Like, yeah, I didn't know that. Usually, I'm like pretty out of the loop when it comes to like world's meta developments. Like, I didn't know like weakness policy, like bulky Gmax Zar was going to be a thing before 22 Worlds, and then I got like hit in the face with it by Choppa in the tournament. But like, this was something I learned by like actually I would say I talked with Mal Harada before the event, and he was like, yeah, Modest is really good, and he was he was talking to me in Agati, and he was like, don't share this. This is top secret between us. And then like the next day, Fede tweets out, if you're running Modest CSR at Worlds, here's everything that outruns. And I was like, guys, we got a problem. Like,
Yeah. I thought it was a sick game to be playing anyways. Not what Fede was doing.
yeah.
I thought running Modest in general is just like you were playing with
Modest.
fire. You were playing with fire.
That's when I immediately knew. I was like, all right, just run Sash CSR. Don't even overthink it. Like,
That's true.
Yeah, always being able to encore them, especially, was like, or even know you're gonna astral
it's
before
so
them.
nice.
It was actually like, it was very nice.
What were you gonna say, Audie?
Yeah, I heard after VR last week, of course, or 2 weeks ago, we saw Tyron beat Geo in finals, and that's why we had Geo on the podcast. The real reason why we had him on. But we found out that Tyron was modest CSR, I believe. There, people were talking about that, and so I can't imagine that helps, especially winning VR and people knowing that you're modest. So yeah, especially if people find out ahead of time, that's pretty debilitating. And I don't know, Amon, we'd been testing the Maridon CSR team, and I thought that was really difficult in the mirror. Anyways, I don't know how people were really managing the mirror with Modest. And I'm looking at Tyron, and it looks like he lost to the mirror in round 1. So
yeah,
but
I
don't know if any Modest did really well this tournament. Do you know?
I do know that Mal ran Modest because
Oh, okay.
We basically just discussed, like, what is it? Me, him, and Agati just basically discussed like a giant CSR Koraidon think tank. Like that, we just made a group chat and we just like jotted down a bunch of ideas that we had for the comp. And then by the time of the tournament, none of us ran like anything remotely similar to each other. But we did share like a lot of ideas, and Mal was very, very like open about he really liked how powerful Modest CSR was into things like Zamazenta. Like just into like other bulky Calyrexes, it's good into like Maridon and Cry. Basically any restricted, it kind of just like is built for like +2 Life Orb, Astral Barrage from Timid, kind of just gets like smacked in the face if they're not expecting it. So I think he might have been the highest performing one because I think the rest of us are Focus Sash. I thought my top 16 opponent was going to be Modest CSR, just by the way his team was built, like with Clefairy and Grimmsnarl, and then we played the first Astral Barrage speed tie like 2 seconds into the game, and I was like, oh, that is not what I wanted. But I think he was the best performing one.
Got you. I got you.
Oh, I was gonna say for Audi, I think with Modest, like with the Terra Dark versus Terra Dark, the speed interaction on the Shadow Rider matters like a little. Like it still matters, but it just feels like it's a little more manageable. Like going second, whereas if you're like a fairy one and you're going second and they're just getting to astral you and you're not, then it's usually very sad, I feel. But yeah, that meta innovation was crazy, and I don't know how many of the Crydons capitalized on that by like maybe they were always going to outspeed or decided to outspeed after that. Or I was curious because I know there's also like bulky Crydon versus fast Crydon. Maybe James, you could talk about if people did that.
Yeah. So a lot of the players that I knew using Crydon before Worlds, a lot of them wanted to go like bulkier or slower. I was very much the opposite camp. I wanted to like run faster Crydon because my philosophy was like the biggest issue with Crydon right now is that like no one really knows how to advance them on in terms of how we're building it. Like, and I think a lot of that starts with how you're actually building your Crydon specifically, not the Pokemon around it. I know Agati and Mal were testing low kick in close combat. I tried testing close combat on Clear Amulet. Just any way to like up the damage so that way you didn't have to run bulky in order to kind of get more mileage. You could like up the speed and then up the damage. I would say I don't think I ran enough to outrun like all the Modest CSRs, but I think I could probably outrun like one or two that were not like well like invested in speed. I know like something like Yuma's Calyrex was not that like super fast because I think Maddie's outran it on stream. So like it had to have been Modest and pretty slow. But like obviously it could have been faster. Like I ran a Koraidon that outran all Modest and like Adamant Koraidons with max speed or Miraidons with max speed. Because I wanted to get the jump on those, and my idea was like, oh, if I have Helping Hand, then I can kind of like bridge the damage that something with a higher attack stat Koraidon would be able to get. I'm not sure what Hirofumi ran. I'm not sure what any of the lower placing Koraidons had either. Like I don't remember what Mal's was specifically, but if I had to remember, it was probably much slower and more attack and bulk invested. Obviously Geo's was probably outrunning any that you would have like the Modest Life Orb. I just think a lot of it in general, like it's something that I think as a Koraidon player, it was not something I wanted to risk that much. Like I figured having more speed is going to be more valuable compared to not having as much speed because Koraidon is not that tanky of a Pokemon, even if you try to make it. It's not like Miraidon where I think like they have very similar stats, but like flipping them around the defenses, it just works out better in Miraidon's case. Like having more Spadef, there's a lot more specially offensive Pokemon that are more pressing, and there are more physical Pokemon that you can like find ways to mitigate much quicker through things like Intimidate. Obviously, Koraidon has it a little tougher. So like sometimes I think valuing speed is better. But just in like the case of me personally, I didn't like risking anything with Shadow Riders, and I would imagine there is probably a point if I asked Geo, like, did you play a Modest Shadow Rider and did you outspeed it with Koraidon? He would probably answer yes. I know that happened a lot with like Wolf, for instance, at EUIC, where like we saw several times on stream where his Koraidon just outran other CSRs for like no reason, and that's like something you can easily be punished on.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing that with Wolf too. That was crazy. All right, so I think let's go ahead and move on to wrapping up some of the other teams that did well at the World Championships, at least the ones that stand out to us. Of course, you know, like congrats on the top 8 at Worlds. I don't really have much to say about your team, you know, like that's. I will say though, the remaining player in top 4, Hirofumi, was probably the team that cooked the most in the top 4. I'd say I think it was probably my favorite for the coolest one. No Ice Rider bias. aside, like I just think that this team is probably the most different than things we've seen beforehand, and so I thought that was pretty cool. Rillaboom, Smeargle, especially the Smeargle set, Ruination,
Smeargle
Spiky
set.
Shield, like that Smeargle was doing demon stuff on the stream against Victor. It was sort of his fault for ignoring it for 8 turns straight. Like, of course, Smeargle's gonna get to do some bad stuff if you don't kill it for 8 turns. But yeah, Ruination, really, really cool. Taking a page out of the Chen-Pao's book, I guess.
The Smeargle set, I would dig if it didn't have Spiky Shield, because I think there's so many games that I watched of Hirofumi's over the weekend where like he just starts by double protecting turn 1 and just seeing where the speed goes on Smeargle.
Oh yeah, you know it. 1 in 5.
That was something that I hated like early on in the format when people were still messing around with Smeargles, because like I played Smeargle Koraidon at Milwaukee and it was like very similar set, no fake out Spiky Shield. And all 3 games my opponent started by just double protecting and seeing where the speed went. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this one bit.
It's just a 1 in 5 to win the game. Why not? Why not just take a 1 in 5 to win instantly?
I do agree though. I think. Oh wait, sorry. Go on, Adi.
Oh, I was just gonna tell my bad beat story. You can go first.
Okay. I was gonna say, I just think that like this team is fundamentally very cool, even if it's got like, I would say like Rillaboom Instant, like fairly standard, like especially even the sets. But this is just like a really cool combination of Pokemon. And like I would say again, I think the Smeargle set is very cool. Ruination is just a very fascinating thing to see on Smeargle after all these years. It reminds me a lot of I feel like we've seen it a few times before, like in Gen 7, where they would run like Nature's Madness or Super Fang. Probably even before that, like even before I played, like in 2016, they probably tried that at some point. I just remember seeing it on like a team Patrick Smith in like 2017 or 18, I think. And like obviously people ran it in 2019 as well. It's just like a very cool callback to see. On top of like Ruination already kind of being a similar callback to times of old where you would run Nature's Madness on like a Tapu to try and get an advantage in the damage department with your bulkier restricteds.
It's funny to hear you mention like Patrick Smith, James. I feel like a total of 1 person that is gonna like know who he is.
Bro.
No, we've been playing for too long. That's the thing. You'll reference some of these older seasons, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah," but like, no, nobody's gonna know about Patrick Smith.
I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
He's back, isn't he?
Bro.
I think he came back for one of these regionals recently.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, Salamence. You know it. So go ahead, Mont.
Oh, I was gonna say that's funny you brought up AV Tapu Koko. I think Zach was telling me that AV Chien Power reminded him of AV Tapu Koko in a way, because it's like the Nature's Madness, the Ruination, and just with the other stuff you're enabling.
Icy Wind, Electroweb, kind of similar.
Yeah, no, yeah, with the Icy Wind, it's like what's old is new again, and
yeah. Instead of setting terrain, it's sort of ruin. It's sort of ruin terrain. Okay. MBB running this was genuinely a surprise. His team is rather boring because we already talked about a team like that, so nothing actually exciting here. But it was also crazy to see him on the
podcast. We'll also have him on the podcast next week, so we'll
that is in the plan.
To talk about his team.
Yeah, we'll dive into that more there. But just like seeing him run this, I'm gonna have to ask him, like, why did he join the dark side? That's the real thing bugging me.
He likes Zamazenta, at least. That's what I thought looking at it, because he had a lot of experience with Zama before. It's kind of more like a Zamazenta team than a Shadow Rider team.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, with Chen-Pao and stuff like that, I guess. Breaks my heart a little bit, but understandable. Mao's team also pretty evil. These Clefairy teams. It was he was the best finishing Clefairy. Looking at Mont's background. This team also just like, I think what it does really well is it takes these 2 fast restricteds that James had as well, but like gives it a very good way to deal with the Trick Room from the opponent. James also had ways to deal with Trick Room, mainly looking at like Brute Bonnet and Incin, helping survive that. But that was always the biggest scare for me using these 2 very fast restricteds, is how Trick Room was going to be handled. But when you have so many protects, you have so many fake outs, I feel like things are going to work out.
Also, Encore on Clefairy helps with it too.
Yeah, that's true. Clefairy is just very good. And then Torviv, I think, ran maybe the exact same team at NAIC. I wouldn't be surprised if Mont could tell me exactly every single difference. Like, oh, it wasn't Terra Water Ensign back then. It was actually Ghost. But actually, I feel like it's probably very similar. Mont, do you know the answer? You're looking like you know it. Maybe you don't.
No, I don't know offhand.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know it that well. No.
Okay. He's a fake fan. So yeah, going down. James actually had a pretty weird team, I'll be honest. Not James in the call here, of course. James Beck. And James, you actually played against James. I think it was one of your only losses, right?
Yeah, Beck's team is really cool. These are a lot of Pokemon I actually really considered for the team. Like Aleki was one of those things that I considered a lot in testing because I thought its kit was super cool for this duo specifically. Volk as well. Like I think both are interesting solutions to rather troublesome problems that you have. I think Beck was just a lot more confident testing them, and I think from what he told me, he had a good amount of time practicing with our friend Navjeet, who got top 8 at last year's Worlds, who is like the Regieleki master of this generation. Bro just knows how to use this Pokemon. But he had a lot of comfort with it. And I think something that I didn't know and I didn't really want to risk going in the tournament. I did not really study up on like how Miraidons were being run if they were Choice Scarf, because I was just running into like 252 speed ones on ladder, and that was like the most information I was getting. And like, of course, Sash Regieleki with like timid max speed gets outran by like max speed modest Scarf Miraidon, and I was just sitting there. I was just like, all right, well, nothing I do matters, and it's not going to beat the Scarf Miraidon. So like, just don't run it. Just give up, man. But I would say most of them, from what other players told me, were like 170-ish speed, and Aleki with max speed definitely outruns that and makes the duo much more capable into it. But it is a really cool composition from Beck. I think he played it really well in our matches. It is a very fascinating take on CSR Korai.
Yeah, this one, I don't know, one of the most unique teams from Worlds, so really cool to see him having a unique Pokemon this deep into the tournament with a Lucky. Like, a Lucky is just like, nobody else is using this Pokemon despite it having like a really unique toolkit. And it's all just electric moves, but it's mainly just that speed stat. Something that naturally outspeeds Shadow Rider. The only thing that naturally outspeeds Shadow Rider. Like, that's got to have a very solid niche.
I did not want to... I kept looking at that team, and I was like, I do not want to get paired into him. I do not... Like, it looks so hard for Sash Shadow Rider.
It is a little bit.
Yeah, with the Aleki and the Terra Dark Shadow Rider, I was just like, please no.
And the next one here right below it was actually the best finishing Ho-Oh. You would think that we would have to scroll a lot farther to find the best finishing Ho-Oh at the World Championships, but actually 11th place overall. It's so sick. Here from
I think it was the only Ho-Oh.
I think maybe Audie was telling me this one. I can't remember. I think I should be able to.
I know Zang tweeted it out. I think he was like,
it gives me one result, but
yeah.
I don't know. That's only for ones that did well enough to make day 2 or whatever. I think so. I can't look at the whole tournament here. Maybe I could on Lab Mouse, but regardless, let's look at the team here. And actually, James, it turns out the answer was Iron Treads all along. If you wanted to beat Ice Red and Miraidon, you should have just gone with it, because it seems like that's what they're doing here. Treads just hanging out on a Sun team with no electric terrain, and yeah, I mean, really funny. Loaded dice on the Koraidon, probably also one of the only, if not the only, loaded dice Koraidons in the tournament. Let's see, item slots. Yeah, absolutely. Getting a little too excited for Regulation H and the return of Dragonite. Wanted to go ahead and get a sneak preview by running that on the Koraidon. Pretty cool set, I gotta say. Like, it doesn't run the Flame Charge, still gets the speed boost from a Dragon type attack. It definitely scares Miraidon a lot more, at the very least, as well as scares other Koraidon. Both the other bikes can look at a Koraidon and say, like, you're not gonna Oko me this turn unless you're Life Orb close combat or something. And this one has another way that's a little less committal to do that, so I think that's pretty cool. Only one tournament.
This
That's
team is
cool.
very cool. Although, what is it? I had a friend. I had a friend who, this was like they're one of the few events that they've come to, and like they were very curious about it all, and they were asking me like, "Oh, is Ho-Oh like a meta Pokemon? Is that like common?" And I had to like explain to them like, "No, this guy's just insane." Like,
Audie, is it a meta Pokemon? What happened? What happened to the Ho-Oh, dude? You were Ho-Oh's champion.
Well, it is a meta Pokemon. It got top something worlds, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And Loudmouse is saying there were 4 people who used Ho-Oh in this tournament. So, but yeah, it's the only one who made day 2.
Got it.
25% cut rate. That's a pretty good number for a Pokemon.
Yeah, and so then I think here there's the rest of the top cut. Chuppa also made it there. 2 of the white whales from Cedric and Nails. Masayoshi, who won over in Australia using a Sneasler team. Sneasler Ditto. I think this is actually Scarf Ditto because the sash is on the Ursh. I played against this team a number of times on the ladder and always was just like, why is Scarf Ditto? I think Scarf Ditto so bad. What are we doing here? But they obviously did very well with it. So making it to the top 16, really good finish for it. And yeah, I'm looking at the rest of these and I'm not seeing a whole lot of spice, which is fine. You know, we were talked about how comfort is the call for the World Championships. So yeah, if there's any other teams that we definitely need to cover, do let me know. Let me see.
Oh, that Samvi team is pretty unique.
Oh, you think? Yeah, okay.
No, actually, the conversion rate was kind of crazy because it was. I think on those it was just me, Chuppa, Samvi, and it was.
Chuppa used it too.
Yeah, you guys had some very high
2 paths, and then Samvi was a misclick away.
Oh, damn.
Could have been a very strong trio, but still a very strong trio regardless.
Yeah. Was there a lot of interesting teams, I feel like, just on the outside, like in top 32? Like Tang's team is very interesting. Brian Collins' team is super, like, very interesting. Like I've looked at that one on the Poke data for a little while. Like this is something to take in.
Oh, it was also Citrus on Justin Tang's team. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Zachary Minich's team. There were obviously I was considering Ting Lu for a long time as another type. It is kind of cool to see that one also do well.
Who am I missing here? Jude, one of the best finishing Terapagos, pretty crazy. Who's the one? Oh yeah, Brian Collins down here. I think Brian Collins said that this was inspired maybe originally by David Kutesh's team that he posted at some point. Basically just said like, make sure you have a Specs Shadow Rider matchup or something, and then I was like, that's best of 1 stuff. I'm not actually going to worry about that. If I had played against it at the World Championships, I definitely would have been sweating bullets because this is a crazy-looking team. And I think that like it does a good job of catching people off guard because you think you know how to handle a Shadow Rider until it's Terra Ghosting and hitting you with a Choice Specs Astral Barrage turn 1, and then you really have to question things. How well is my Incineroar taking this Astral Barrage, actually? Oh wait, was there also like a helping hand there or like a fake Tears? Helping hand in the mouse. Yeah. You could really take that damage to
all the multipliers.
Yep.
Prison wide guard with Zama.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah, shout out. I think it was Diego who I can't remember their last name right now, but they had like Jaw Lock Roaring Moon paired with Imprison Zamazenta, which I thought was a hilarious sounding tech. Because you could just imprison the opposing Zamazenta and Jaw Lock it in. And I'm like, wait, that's actually so based. It sounds like he didn't do well enough to make it to day 2.
That's evil.
But that is a really funny combo.
Awesome.
As a Zamazenta player.
Yes, of course. And I guess I must have... I was like, I must have scrolled past myself at some point. I'm like, I'm here. I was the best finishing 6 and 4, of course. How could I forget?
Top 44 in the game's history.
I agree. It is technically my best finish at the World Championships. I got 49th last year, and that one was off of like an 8 and 3, losing my win and in to make it into the top cut. And this one does not feel better. It is technically better by placement number, but I think that last year, with how much bigger the tournament was, that 49th was definitely stronger. However, this one, if I had won, as you can see, I was the top 6-4. If I had won my last round, I didn't realize that I definitely could have snuck into top 32. It would have felt like a very fake top 32, not like somebody who had chance at making cut and lost the last round. It was like, actually, I lost the first round really hard to Lewis Markle. And then I played Wolf, and we had a very close 3-game set, a pretty awesome one. To finish 2 places below Wolf after he had just beat me is so funny. Wolf, he had a very weak resistance, funnily enough. And so he had no shot at making it into the top 32. But regardless, it was, just like, got to give it your all every match. And yeah. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the team, but this is basically just kind of like the MDB team, except that Lando is an Electric Seed Volk. And then Cornerstone got added on there, and it ended up being relatively well-rounded. On top of that, this is a Leech Seed Ice Rider. If you're talking about specifics, it's Leech Seed but Clam with Terra Fairy. That's like a little bit different, but otherwise nothing too flashy. I wasn't trying to do anything too flashy. The team was very solid. All right, so... Oh, yeah, talk about the meta manipulation. Okay, I will say... All right, I'll say something a little bit funny here. About meta manipulation. So I put out a tweet on like the Sunday before Worlds or something like that. It was like, lock your team in on Sunday and spend the rest of the week laddering with the team you have a bad matchup into. I did actually do this. My bad matchup was Diego's Imprisoned Ice Rider, as of course it would be. Diego running Imprisoned Ice Rider, always driving me crazy. In fact, we had this exact same situation a year ago prepping for last Worlds where he got top 8, and every time I was playing Ice Rider practicing for that one and he would imprison me on the ladder, I would just be pulling my hair out like, why does this guy hate other Ice Riders? Why does he hate other Ice Riders? So I did ladder some with Diego's team just to like make sure people had extra practice into it, because I was like, dude, I hate this stupid team.
That's a genius.
Yeah, I mean I do it again.
I'm not realizing why.
And I do it again. Yeah, I mean, meta manipulation is pretty real.
And all the tweets. I guess there was
Yeah.
the Mata Shadow Rider one, but maybe there were more tweets where people meta manipulated. Like,
Oh, 100%.
people were trying it this year.
I mean, if anything, I was probably inviting more people to play Scarf Maridon because I kept like tweeting about like, this is the most painful thing I've ever had to play.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
we messaged each other about it.
yeah. I thought
It's
it was
so
funny.
good.
Like, I think them Rhydon players were getting very upset that you were complaining so much about it.
I refuse to fight on players anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, James's tweets, dude. I was linking those tweets every single time they were posted. I was like, "Look at this guy! Look at this guy! Oh, this guy's ridiculous." Yeah, definitely getting a little bit heated seeing those
Like,
ones.
my Pokemon is so much more fair than their Pokemon.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
My honest Koraidon versus this dishonest evil Miraidon.
Exactly. And Red Guy is all skill based. It's just
Exactly.
total skill.
Thank
If
you.
you do well,
Thank
yeah. it's no luck.
Uh,
Nothing about matchups.
So, also one other thing, somebody mentioned the tweet that was like, the person was talking, like live tweeting my match against Wolf. I wanted to say, like, I didn't realize when I had quote tweeted it that it was like they were breaking it down, like every single update was an individual tweet. I thought it was a thread, so when I thought that I quoted, I thought people would see the full picture. Hopefully people realize when I say it was like, this is insane. I thought it was insane that somebody was like putting this much detail to watch me and Wolf's match over our shoulders. Like, I get that people are excited for this guy and he's like, got the biggest following in the game, but it was just a little bit crazy to be like literally like hawking every single match that he plays. Like, I don't know, he definitely did not get to experience the tournament like a normal person, and that comes with being the most famous player in the game. I remember actually, we're going to get to talking about the arena here shortly in a second, but I did not get into the arena. I go into the main hall and I'm sitting there watching some of the stream games for like seniors and juniors in VG in video game. Actually, it might have been TCG at this point. Wolf comes in. I only noticed because the table next to me is like, Wolf! And they're like waving to him, trying to get his attention. He sits down at a table, and then after 2 minutes of sitting at that table, like a line starts to form to try to meet him, and then they just leave. Like the Wolf, his girlfriend and Trailer, they were all just, they just got out of there. And like, I mean, I get it. They literally couldn't even have like a moment to themselves to hang out with their friends. It's just crazy how much people get all over this. Like they're filming every single second that he's playing a game or something like that. Like, I don't know. It's like you could be a fan of him, but also be a little more normal. That's my sorry if it's that's hard to say, but
no, I think it's correct. Like I think at the end of the day, like he's just some guy. Like he still needs his own personal space and time to himself, and I think that just
Right?
goes for anyone.
Especially at
Like
a
in the
tournament.
game. Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, I know he made a tweet before the event that was like, I really want to focus on the tournament. Don't come up to me respectfully. Like I don't want to have to,
and that's super
deal with
reasonable.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it also like it kind of seems very insensitive that people were just like, "Oh, he's done the tournament now. Like, let's all go up to
Genuinely.
him and like drove." Yeah, like it's a little like we could have some class, guys. Like, sorry.
That was the first thing that we talked about when I sat down. I was like, what are we doing now that we're out of the tournament? Both of us have lost the first round of day 2, and we're both like, we're not really Disney people. What are we even doing in the city? Getting good food, hanging out with our friends is what we agreed on. So, yeah, pretty much. So before we move on though, I wanted to I think I had like 2-ish questions here. Oh yeah, we need to talk about the new docks. And then I had that silly little what's your secret one. So the new docks, really quick. I don't know if I have a picture of them, sorry, but they do seem like they're trying to transition towards a system that can accommodate both Switch 1, Switch 2, and potentially phone. Champions is around the corner. That was confirmed in the closing ceremony. We'll get back to that later. Yeah, I guess, what are your guys' thoughts on the new docks? Anything to mention? Adi, I'll start with you. Do you have anything to say on them?
Yeah, I just sent a message with my round 1 opponent if you want to pull up the docs, but
Let me do it.
yeah, so I had round 1, I had no internet in my dock. You can see that the way it works is it's not like one thing anymore. It's just like a little piece of plastic that you can put your Switch on, and then a wire that you plug into your Switch, a USB-C wire. And so at least I guess the USB-C thing wasn't working or something like that because I didn't have internet, and so we had to move tables. And I had one disconnect as well. But other than that, it went pretty smoothly, and I think they switched out the docks that weren't working, anything like that. That being said, my round 5 opponent, if you have a Switch 2, he blew my mind because there's a USB-C port on your Nintendo Switch 2, at the top of your Switch, so you can just use the
Adi, I also had this happen exactly round 5, by the way. But
Yeah,
you know who showed me? The world champion,
showed you?
Gio. He was
That's
like,
funny.
you could just you could just set up your Switch with the kickstand and then plug it in on top. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm doing that for the rest of the tournament. You're so right.
Oh, like you don't need the dock at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
No,
can
like,
just put the dock to the side.
Oh.
Through the bottom, you can like just do at the top instead. That's
Well,
that's
just
what
ignore the dock entirely. That's about. I mean, I was connecting at the top, but I didn't realize I could just toss the dock aside and use the kickstand.
Oh,
But that's
That's
sounds
what
so
that's
much-
what we're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah,
Just
that
get rid of
sounds-
it.
Wait a
Just
minute,
get
that
rid of
sounds
it.
so much- I was about to make fun of you for realizing it was only until round 5 that you could plug it in the top, but you're talking about more than that.
didn't have to
Yeah,
Yes.
You don't need the
Yes.
kickstand
Okay.
at all because
That's
I feel like
cool.
the kickstand is like kind of unstable. Like I'm a little worried my Switch
It
will
is.
fall
It
over.
is.
And so yeah, no, I really like that. That was my one thing. That the docks are fine. It kind of sucks people using the original Nintendo Switch. I definitely heard some people complaining that they felt like they were more likely to disconnect because like any movement would have be a risk of disconnecting them. But
Yeah.
I think this is about as good as you're gonna get for trying to connect Switch and Switch 2s, and especially given the not short notice, but it's the first time they're doing this. I think it went pretty smoothly overall.
Yeah, it went all right.
I didn't have any tech issues at all throughout the whole tournament. So
My
I was
round
very
1
impressed.
was actually pretty funny getting to use these because I ended up being on the end. Kind of like Adi's actually in this picture. I think you're on the end, but I was on the other end at table 35 specifically. And I did not have enough slack in the wire that was coming to my station.
Oh.
So I just played completely diagonally, like with my Switch just facing the whole crowd on the side. Like I was like, all right, everybody, let's gather around and watch round 1. I don't think I actually had that many people watching me, but it was like, I have my big bright Switch 2 screen for everybody to see here, playing diagonally. It was a little bit goofy, but I think besides that, everything went fine. So
Yeah, I would say this was my first tournament using a Switch 2, as was everyone else who had a Switch 2.
True. True.
I would say besides the docks, I think the biggest issue with them, I think, is that we're gonna have them. They kind of need to the latches at the bottom don't like grip around the Switch. Like they kind of like, if the best way to put it is like, if your Switch is like this, like they kind of like stop right before the end. I'm trying to describe it with my hand and wrist. This is horrible, like to describe it with. I'm sorry. But like they don't latch around the bottom of your Switch, so like if it falls, it just is gonna like fall forward. Um, Granted, I now that I'm realizing you can just do that where you just like use its kickstand and like plug it on the top. That's a lot of like more genius. Uh, but like that's like the one issue I have with them because like some of them were a little flimsier than others I used. And it did seem a little worrying at times where I was like, I don't know if my Switch is just gonna fall over and the screen's gonna break and I'm gonna be down like $450 and out of the tournament instantly if I don't like pay attention and like hold on to this for dear life at all times.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think like on the actual technical side, I didn't have any problem. Switch 2 really runs the game so much better than Switch 1. I think like I have no complaints with that. And like obviously I think now that I've realized that they're like kind of just completely optional now, I really don't have any qualms with it. Just like obviously I wish they were a little better for holding the Switch, but it is
Right.
very smart that Geo and all you guys realize that you can just like not use it at all. And I will probably be doing that.
That
Yeah,
top port is
I did.
clutch.
I found a stable way for the Switch 2 because the thing is, if you were on a Switch Lite, like it could hold it in the air and like you could play it.
Oh,
But with the Switch 2s, like you were saying, right, they're too flimsy. I found the most stable way was if you like those two little thingies that hold it. There's a certain angle of the stand where you can have those just like up against the ground. Or
yeah.
I
Okay.
think that's, and it was annoying because like sometimes the dock weren't in that or it wasn't in that orientation when I sat down. So I had to like play with the dock to get it that way. But that was like the only stable way I think is when you had it completely on the ground and then you put the Switch 2 on it. And then it was
That was-
stable. But
Yeah, I agree. Like I would say, yeah, some of them you would have to like finagle with, and some of them wouldn't have like the right angle. Like I would say, yeah, anytime it was above the ground, it would just like fall straight down. So I was like,
because it was so heavy.
yeah, I think you're correct. Like that was the best way to do it. Is you would just like push it out like completely forward and then down
Yep.
right in front of like the bottom plate. So that way, like it has that to back off of, and it's on the ground like as near as.
Yeah. And that felt stable.
We have a question in the chat here from Vikram saying, for James, did you and Gio use your own Switches for finals or no?
Yes, we did. I actually can grab my Switch too. The box is still locked from it. Like if you go to online competition.
Oh, you got the special competition mode stuff. Fun. Yeah.
Like it says like it's still searching for an opponent. What is it? As far as I know, they told us like not to mess around with it, but I'm pretty sure, like I'm not exactly sure. But like I'm pretty sure me and Gio could just like play the match again on the arena if we wanted to, if both our boxes are still locked. I know
both
like,
just connected the
you can
internet
do
at
that.
home. Yo, queue up.
Yeah.
Like, run it back.
Let's just play on the cool stage, man. Like it's awesome. New camera angles. I know, like with the DSs, you can do that. Because I believe Hirofumi and Naoto did that. Like after their Worlds finals, they just like played the matchup a bunch of times in the stadium. I never got to do that with Braum, but like my Worlds box in my 3DS, it's on my like shelf right there. It's still locked for that Worlds box too. So as far as I know, you can do it there if you want to.
I have a similar question. So I noticed both of you guys walked out in the denim jacket. Did they give this to you? Did they ask you to wear the same thing, or do you guys both happen to just buy it?
Okay, so this is another. First off, I do have it right here. It's so cool. I love it. But like, what is it? It is really funny that you mentioned that because, what is it? Gio and I were kind of like, funnily enough, we were kind of like out the whole weekend, before even like we made it to finals. So like, it was kind of like predetermined from the beginning. It was his Pokemon Center reservation that I got into with him. Like we were in the welcome kit line as well, and he was like, we were talking like, he's like, do you have a team, dude? I was like, no, here's what I'm working with, and I sent him my Poke of my team. I had to delete it before we went out to dinner, like on Saturday night, but like it was really funny. But yeah, we get to finals. we had to what is it? We get to finals, and yeah, backstage they're like, they have these shirts that you can wear. I think I also have. Yeah. But what is it? They have the shirts, um, like the T-ball shirts. I don't know how to describe them. It was if you saw Chris Hahn, he was wearing one the whole weekend.
Yeah, the baseball ones were very cool.
Yeah, they're very nice. But they were like, yeah, you're gonna wear one of those, and I was like, and they were like, what's wrong with that? I was like, I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I don't want to be on stage. Don't like mess with my mojo, bro. Like, I feel good. And they're like, okay, what if we got you a jacket for that? And I was, yeah, like, because I knew what the jacket looked like, so I was like, yes. But to go back to that Pokemon Center reservation, we all saw like the jackets at the same time, like me, him. I think it was Joe and else was with us. I'm so sorry who I'm forgetting right now. I think it might have been Carlos Mirai who also cut. But we all ran to the jackets. We were like, these are so, like, how do we get them? And they were out of like every size except for Geo. So Geo got the jacket for him. And I didn't get the jacket. So then we fast forward back to World's Finals. They give him the shirt, like the T-ball shirt, but he still wanted to just like wear his jacket because he had it on at the time. And they were like, all right, yeah, you can just take the jacket for free. And we're just sitting there. He's like, bro, I paid $120 for mine. You got yours for free. Like,
well, you kind of earned it. You kind of made it there to a spot.
Absolutely. But what is it? They gave him the other shirt as compensation. Which I was like, that's fair. I'll take this jacket. This jacket is awesome. But that's how we both got our jackets.
You both got scammed because you didn't get to be in the crowd when the T-shirt cannon was going off. You could have gotten a shirt that way. Oh, so unlucky.
Exactly.
So unlucky.
Then it would have been free.
Can we let's talk about the arena a little bit?
Of course.
Because we haven't really talked about that yet, but obviously that was a big point of contention. Alex, were you in line when people were being told that there was
honestly
no one else?
Front of the line? Yes.
Okay.
Two groups back.
Tell us your story.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brian Collins did a pretty good summary of it as well as my tweet here. The basic gist of it is we got in line thinking like the line looked like kind of short, like it was kind of ebbing and flowing as I was walking around the convention center that day, and so I figured that people were like coming out, being let in. Then we finally get there and they're like, all right, we're not letting any more people in. And we're like, okay, they're just saying that. Like, they're probably just saying that so that we'll disperse. And pretty much everybody was holding strong. We were like, we're just going to stay in the line here because, like, we don't want it to be sometime a period before they let people line up again. They're like, enough people have left, people can come back in. Then they come out with like a second announcement and they say like, yeah, we're not letting people back in. Or maybe it was in that first announcement. They said like, it's going to be 45 minutes till we're letting people back in again. And I was like, it's Anaheim. I've got nothing else to do right now. And I want to see this arena. So I'm just committing. I'm getting in line. I'm in line. I'm staying in line. Then they come out like a third time and say like, this time, like for real, like, you guys cannot get in. We're not like we got a call from like Pokemon, like they're not letting any more people in, and they're like, sorry to be the bearer of bad news. And I don't know, I mean, I'm definitely like misremembering what was said in each specific instance, but then by the time the fourth time came around, they said like, it's a fire hazard for you guys to be lined up here. You have to go. We're not literally letting anybody else. We've gotten like the fire marshal involved on site or something, and like the local authorities are basically here. Like, we're not allowed to let anybody else in or have you guys line up here. That's when I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna, if this isn't happening, this isn't happening. And like, of course, if they do let people in, I'm just going to be like triply as pissed, if I walk away finally and they do let people. So, I had classically had complaint equity, which is a very strong thing to happen, to have, if you get unlucky in a tournament. Anyways. That was basically just like, it was a really disappointing thing because the time I had got in line was about at the end of juniors TCG, beginning of seniors TCG. So not only like did we know that a lot of TCG people were going to be leaving the arena, but like I had gotten in line before my game that I was interested in, the only game I was interested in, and had even started. And to find out that like you can't even watch video game unless were in line before TCG. It just kind of made me like really, really sad. I know that a lot of people continued to stick around after that fourth warning, by the way. Like people were almost like just not quite like protesting, but they were all just standing out there in hopes something could happen, trying to get their voices heard. And like power to them, but yeah, I just like saw the writing was on the wall and it wasn't going to happen. And I knew that my flight was early enough that I wasn't going to be able to see the finals anyways, but like I just wanted to see the arena. And like they did some really cool effects during your finals, James, as far as I'd seen. Like they were changing the terrain, trick room. I know that maybe that didn't happen in the
weather
finals, but like the weather and stuff like that. It's so cool.
No, it was very like just the whole environment, because they did, what is it, before finals they did just like sit us down. They were like, all right, stay here and just like watch. It is a shame that like the organization for it did just seem like a mess. Like I know you mentioned the fire marshal stepped in, and I'm not sure what like their jurisdiction is, like Pokemon Company itself is, like when that guy shows up. I would imagine probably not a lot.
Right.
But it is just a very like weird thing, I would argue, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe the fire marshal showed up for the Pokemon Center line on Wednesday, and that's probably some whole other mess that I'm not exactly
it seemed like it,
engaged with. But like apparently he was also threatening to like shut that down too because it was a fire hazard. And at that point I'm just thinking, what's not a fire hazard?
True.
It's like people just standing in line is a fire hazard. But right. it was one of those things where I was like, it really did seem like someone on this team was just very, very mad they had to deal with all these people this weekend. Like,
yes. Yeah.
And this is one of those things where I really think that if they had the foresight, this could have been avoided. Like we said this would happen on Top Takes the week before Worlds. We said that, like I said, I didn't expect to get into the venue for VG Masters Finals. Didn't think it would happen as early as Alex described it to as happening. But yeah, like I don't know, like everyone kind of saw this coming once they released their instructions, and it is a disappointment that they didn't see this coming and didn't like figure out some way to let people in as people left for as TCG ended, right? That was kind of inevitable. I think that they've braided these competitions, and we'll talk about like XP for next year. Had they braided the World Championships as more of a Pokemon convention than a Pokemon tournament. And so it wouldn't shock me if they kind of expected more like Pokemon fans more than like TCG players to show up. And obviously that wasn't the case. Of course, next year we'll have the Chase Center, so it'll hopefully all be moot. Where I think it's 18,000 people. We're not going to fill that up, and if we do, that's cool. But at that point, if you're not one of the first 18,000 people, that's your problem, I think. But yeah, I don't know. We kind of saw this coming. I'm not surprised. I didn't even try to get in personally. But it was very funny to be sitting in the convention center hall watching the World Championships with in the same little circle as like James Beck and Ashton Cox, and then all the best Italian players and all the best Japanese players. And it's kind of a shame that all the best players in the world were not able to get into the venue for World's Finals.
I know a lot of Japanese players didn't make it in. So the Chase Center next year going to be much bigger, should be more accommodating. So it will be exciting to actually get to check it out. Mont, I know that you were in there. We all hate you for being in there. Just know that collectively. I'm going to say that out loud now.
Yeah.
But no, do tell us the nice parts about it, because it was still a really cool thing, of course.
I was going to say about Adi's comment, I could tell that it wasn't a ton of VG people in there, because during one of the VG finals, there's just something with Focus Sash, and it went down to 1 HP, and the crowd freaked out. They're like, what? it's like, oh, it barely survived that. And I'm just like, oh no.
Okay, you say that, but I saw that moment in the event hall.
It did also happen in the other one. Yeah. People just don't know about Focus Sash, man.
VG and non-VG players but I went there very early pretty early, before juniors TCG. And I had even actually entered and exited before that. And I have part of a theory on what started to go wrong, or at least when I had exited. So what the system was, when you entered, they would give you a color of a wristband or a wristband with a number on it. There were some different ones, and you would go to that section. And then if you wanted to completely leave the arena, they would take your wristband and like you would leave and you would have to like redo the process to go in. But I wonder if like when people were leaving, how good of account they kept of like those wristbands they were taking, because maybe they like didn't have a good idea immediately of like which sections are empty or which sections can still fit people, because we don't know who left from what, and maybe that caused some of the initial confusion. Now I think that's easily workaroundable, like you go and you look and you see which have seats and then you let more people in ideally, but obviously there were organizational issues somewhere that led to that not happening. It was super frustrating. But um the spectating experience was pretty cool with like the different, like I don't know how to watch TCG at all. Like I don't know anything about the game. So like I was just sitting there like blankly staring or looking at my phone for most of that, to be honest. But for the VG, the spectating experience was pretty was cool. Like the walkouts were super hype with the fire going off, the stage effects with like the trick room. When sun would come up, they would like play an effect. When grassy terrain was on the field, they would play an effect. That part was all pretty cool. Between games, between sets, they would play some different music. Like they were playing, I think it's Kian's theme. Is that the DLC champion or something? I can't remember. They were playing some cool
Aaron.
battle. Yeah, one of those characters with the guitar. They lead Politoed and Incineroar or something, or Dragonite. Anyway, they played that character's theme in between sets. They did music at the end during the closing ceremony. The production value on that was pretty cool. I can't help but think though I would have liked if they had played like Pokemon game music. Like I'm like when they had that piano on stage, or they had a piano like dead center stage, I'm like, oh, they're gonna play Cynthia's theme, aren't they, or something? And then they played like, and then they played like their original song that they commissioned, and obviously like TPCI is very proud of, and like it's a cool song. Like the performers were very good.
I will push back on it. I'll be the one to say I did not enjoy the songs on the closing ceremony. I liked the opening ceremony ones. The opening ceremony ones were hype.
Everybody was so cool.
Yeah, but I'm like, you have some of the best video game music in the world. Like, why? In my head, I'm like, why are you not playing some of that instead of like these original songs? That's like, yay, like you fought the battle, or
it said you're a hero. And that was the thing, is like I have never done well at a tournament and thought to myself like I'm a hero, you know, like I thought I'm a good video game player, like, you know. But
yeah, like I get the idea behind it, but it was just like, to me it's like, I wish you would have played Pokemon music, and I think it was someone's pet project. Like that's what I could tell. Like someone feels very strongly that they should be playing this original song out here. But so yeah, the production value was cool, but I'm like, in my head, I wish it were game music and not the original stuff. But yeah,
sorry,
that's
okay.
pretty much wraps up.
I think the only time first off, two things. I think the only time that's ever worked was when, I think it was last year, they had one of their original songs, but it had like the motif of like Vast Pony Canyon from Gen 7 in it. And I loved that. I would say might be like a little too on the nose, but I was like, oh, I get where it's from. I get the reference. Like, but secondly, I definitely actually agree. I kind of wish they played some of the Scarlet and Violet music between the matches, even like the low key music, like I think it's like the first route or whatever, like when you're just kind of like standing around and it's like that nice little piano piece. I think that would have been nice, just like in the downtime. Although, like now that you mentioned like, oh, the piano, and you saw like, oh, you thought they were gonna play like the Cynthia piano theme. I just know that like it's kind of good that we avoided that, because we would have just had like 10,000 unfunny, like when you walk into the wrong arena in Anaheim.
Oh yeah,
jokes like
those normie Pokemon memes.
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been cool. It still would have been cool to me.
It would have been neat, but I would have just been like, all right, on Twitter, like, all right, come on, man.
Yeah, and I guess similar to that, James, I'm curious because the prior worlds you played in, it had special music, right? And they didn't have special music for this worlds. How do you like want that to come back, or do you feel strongly about that at all?
I feel incredibly strongly about this. This is like, obviously, as someone who has now experienced both things, I can tell you which one is infinitely cooler than the other one. I think if I had to like tell you which one like is cooler visually, I think like the Scarlet and Violet arena is awesome looking. I love the colors. I love the festivity of it. It's a really like big shame that like this year they didn't do it for all of top 8. I know
Mhm.
years prior they did that for top 8, top 4. They only had box lock for me and Geo in the finals. So
Mhm.
it's really like it's a really big shame that like Montana and everyone else couldn't experience that in Top Cut. Because it really is cool the dynamic camera angles that it has compared to the original game. It's just a lot cooler visually, and you don't even really notice it while playing, obviously, because like you're so focused
You're locked
on
in, yeah.
exactly. But it's really cool, like looking back, just being able to be like, yeah, I got to be on this field that like really only like I would say I think like 18 people have been on now. Um, but without the music, I think it's really hard to like justify it because like compared to being like, oh yeah, I've been on like this one like little festival background compared to like I got to hear this music come out of my DS from the Pokemon
Mhm.
World Championships and like no one's ever going to be able to hear that ever again.
What's a
Is kind of just
DS?
a big shame
I'm confused. As
because
somebody who's only started playing VGC recently, what's a DS? What do you mean by that?
do you know like those like weird little like lunchbox things that like they Nintendo made
Oh, those Game
like
Boys. Yeah, I
yeah,
get
yeah, the
you.
Oh.
Nintendo.
Yeah, from like the '90s.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
want them to
those old.
bring back the music, even just as a spectator. It's so cool
I
that
agree.
Way cooler. Way
special, like,
cooler.
Like
exclusive.
the only theme I think fits really in finals is Nimona 2, which is why I played it. I played it the
Mhm.
entire tournament and I was like, this just kind of fits the best because it has the most energy, while still like being relatively like I would say it has like enough phases of the song to feel like a transition into every part of the match. Whereas something
Yeah.
like I would say like obviously everyone's like here like uh what's the other thing AI professor or something like that, but I'm like this
Oh,
is I
yeah.
feel like I'm not trying to like sweat bullets during finals already more than I am, so like I'll just like pick a song that everyone can kind of enjoy and like
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
upbeat and fast paced for the world championships.
Mhm.
It is kind of cool. Like what is it? For reference, the way you pick the song is also like how you would pick it in like a global challenge or battle stadium match where it's like while you're searching, you pick the song, and if you don't get to it in time, you're just stuck with whatever you have.
That's
So
so
like
goofy.
yeah, at the beginning, I was really scared because it was on like something like really not good, if I remember correct. I think it was like on like Battle Paradox Pokemon 2, which would have just been like awful for finals. Um,
Or no
like
music. No.
yeah, exactly. So I was like sitting there and I'm like looking at the screen, I'm like, oh, this is cool, like little fireworks and stuff. I'm like, wait, why is there like the music selection at the bottom? I was like, oh god, it's gonna like select like it's gonna find Geo in like 5 seconds. Like, let me get to this song as fast as possible.
That's so
Um,
funny.
it was really something. Um, but I do wish they would bring the music back. I think it would be awesome with now the stadiums that we have. Like I thought the Sword and Shield one was cool, but Leon's theme was kind of lame in like the grand scheme of it all. I think this arena is by far the best one we've had for like a championship final, even if it's not like exactly championship final. It's just like in this the main city. But like I love the colors that they use. I love the dynamic angles that it has compared to the main game.
Mhm.
It would just be infinitely cooler with its own original song backing it,
Oh
rather
yeah,
than just like
definitely.
one.
Yes,
Sad,
the
sad that
championship
we
theme.
sad that we lost
Exactly.
that. All right, let's go
I
ahead and since we were kind of talking about the end of the tournament here, let's go ahead and move us to the post world's announcements section here. We'll talk about the couple of things. Spending various amounts of times because like I feel like this first one, there's probably not a whole lot to say about it, and it's kind of crazy that this is the trailer we got post worlds and not what we got today. We'll save that for the very end. But yeah, they announced that there's going to be this 4-player mode in ZA. That was it for ZA from Worlds, right? That was the besides the demo. This is what we
yeah
learned. I think so.
yeah.
um, all right. Well, Mont, what do you think of it? What do you think of this 4-player mode in ZA? Are you hyped for it, or could you care less?
It looks
Somewhere in the
okay.
middle.
I don't know. I don't know if the battling in ZA is actually like fun yet. I haven't tried it. If it
Right.
is like really fun, then sure. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just, this is more just like, okay, I'm much more interested in the news we're going to talk about in a second.
Right, I'm with you there. Anybody excited for this? I don't know. I mean,
I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna try it.
Of course.
We'll see
Yeah,
if it's fun
exactly.
or not. But it's very different than normal battling that I'm used to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
the way that the trailer played out definitely did not excite me. It was like this Dragonite comes in and kills all three of them at the very last second and gets the win. I was like, I kind of hate when games have that happen. Like, you know, it should be won by the best player, not by somebody who just creeps in at the last second. I don't know. It's just goofy. Definitely goofy. It won't be that serious, I think, is the main thing. So, of course, it's just a side mode.
The initial reaction I had was like when I saw it, I was like, I love how they just like made it so that way you can get like Fortnite third partied in Pokemon now.
Exactly.
Like it's just like, okay, man, so like just don't kill anything and then just like go in with AoE at the very end and win the whole thing.
Yeah, that's not fun. I don't love that.
Yeah, that was my first impression. My second impression was that I personally love free-for-alls on Showdown, and I don't know.
Sure.
I would say I think granted I've been to enough events to kind of know that this is something that people do after. People love to drink and play free-for-all on Showdown, at least in my circles. This just seems like that taken to its next logical extreme. Like, all right, whenever you just like kill everyone, take a drink or something like that.
You get knocked out,
so
take a shot.
Yeah, I could see it being really fun when there are like literally absolutely no stakes and everyone's inebriated enough to care about the rules.
Right.
But like conceptually, I think it's just like one of those things where it's fine. They just probably added it to be a fun little mode. Granted, it
Fun
has
little
no
mode.
real competitive.
There's
It's a
ranks.
fun little mode.
There's
Well,
ranks.
I don't think this is the
this
ranked. This
for
is the
sure.
ranked, right?
Never mind.
Is
We
there
gotta
not?
get out of here, bro.
I think this is
No,
probably
no,
not the ranked.
That's what Cerebi
No,
says.
Adi, I
Cerebi's-
think you're right. That's what he says, but the picture was just two people. That's what confused me.
Okay. I guess we'll kind of
I'm
have to wait
looking-
and see on that one, but that's insane.
Cerebi says this is called ZA Battle Club, and it has a ranked and casual battle mode. So that's what I'm going off of.
I'm
But
also
I
liking the
think-
screenshot because they're desynced, dude. They're literally not even in sync, dude. Look, it says 0.20 there, 0.18 there, 0.17.
Oh,
Latency
no.
in my Pokemon game, dude.
Unplayable.
Unbelievable. Oh,
No.
man. You know what? All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, though. So
I hope we
Go
get.
ahead, Adi.
I hope we get this at a side event at a regional. That's what I
That would be
play
fun.
this
That
on
would
a
be
Sunday
fun.
at a regional.
it'd be
That
fun
would
for that. So the Champions news, this was like big but not big, but like a good confirmation. So they did just say very plainly, Champions is going to be what VGC is at the World Championships. Like they said it without a doubt. So like that one guy who said that we're never playing tournaments on this has to eat a shoe. He will have to go ahead and eat a shoe.
Or will take.
I think that like anybody who was a doubter, like I personally thought they were a little crazy, but this is just, you know, the nail in the coffin finally. So cool to see this. And then on top of this, I don't know if I grabbed the separate tweet for it, but I think it's stated right here. It says Master, Mega Evolution, and Ranked Battles. It mentions that the first format will be Megas. So the trailer originally showed Terra and Mega, and that's probably going to be something that happens along the line or somewhere down the line. But I think it looks like we're just starting out with just Megas, probably in the spirit of ZA coming out just before it.
Yeah. What is it? I do think the idea that people like, oh, we're not going to use this for VGC, guys. It's not like a VGC game was really weird to me, considering like every other battle simulation Pokemon game before this has been used for like a competitive format or something like battle related in some way on a major level. Like I know the 2000 Pokemon World Championships, I believe, used Pokemon Stadium. If I'm not mistaken, that might be a massive throwback.
It was
but
Stadium or
they're, like,
Stadium 2, one of the whichever
I
one
think
was.
Stadium 1, actually, if I'm not mistaken. When did Stadium 2 come out?
Probably one. There was Articuno in the finals, I think. There's a YouTube video about it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but that's like a massive blast of the past. But they did use Stadium for like competitive back in the day. They used, I believe, Coliseum and XD. I think Coliseum more so for
Yeah,
I
that was the
believe,
Hulk
like,
Hogan era. That's where he says like, "That's a
Yeah.
body slam, brother," which I guess, you know, I don't know
Like,
how
journey
people feel
across the
about Hulk Hogan, but he did recently pass. So, but I do remember he actually had involvement in the official competitive Pokemon where he commentated
dude.
over a match that Snorlax used body slam in, and he said, "That's a body slam, brother." And then, of course, we did play on Battle Revolution as well later down the line, right?
Exactly. Like 2008, 2009, used Battle Revolution for their like stream matches essentially.
Yep.
I think it was a little preemptive, and I think kind of just like not based on anything to assume that like we wouldn't be using champions, considering it very much a bringing back legacy mechanics and most likely legacy Pokemon that weren't going to be included in forward mainline games. Um, it just didn't add up to me. I was just like, this is just something we're probably going to be using for the rest of the foreseeable, just to streamline things. And maybe we will actually get our own like unique finals theme again with this game, because now they don't have to really worry about cramming
True.
everything from the competitive scene straight into the next generation of Pokemon. I think it's just a good decision. In general, I think having our own dedicated team of developers to make our game better is great, while
Right.
we can still have the mainline games do their own thing. And like, it's not like they're completely unrelated to each other still. I think there's still a lot of overlap, and it's a game that just casual fans can enjoy to begin with.
Very exciting.
But it
Very
is
excited for this
yeah,
one.
it's just very good to have
Mhm.
our own game to
Yeah.
that's not
Right,
named home.
especially as, we saw Pokemon Legends Arceus was really experimental, and then they incorporated a lot of those attributes into the latest game, and I think they're going to keep doing that. They're going to keep using the Legends games as a place to experiment with new mechanics, and then take the more interesting ones and incorporate them into the main series games. And so, if that means we go away from like traditional battling mechanics in main series games, it's really nice that we have a place where we will have these traditional battling mechanics continue to play out, and it allows them to be more experimental, and it allows them to not have to release a game every 3 years for VGC to continue functioning. Because right now, right, like obviously they're running out of formats for us to do on Scarlet and Violet. And so yeah, especially with the extended release cycle of main series games, with the potential changes to main series games in terms of the way the emphasis on battling. I think this is really exciting. And the fact that megas are coming in, of course, is a great tie-in to the new Legends, where they're going to be presumably releasing all these new megas. And so again, it's kind of encouraging you to buy both the games at once.
I'm very excited for all those reasons as well. I just think about the fact that we don't have like locking your battle box. Like, think about these features where it's like, oh well, it missed the initial release, so like now Game Freak can't do it. But like now those kind of things, especially if Champions is like a live service game, which it's looking like it'll be something like that, where they can regularly update and patch it and add new things. Like, we'll get features that we, want, and it's not just like, oh well, it missed the train on the initial, big Pokemon launch.
True.
So I'm excited. I'm curious to see how far they go with it, though. Are we gonna have balance patches for
Right. That's
Pokemon
the
ever?
crazy
They
part, right? I
could do
know.
it now,
Imagine.
but I think it's kind of cool that Pokemon does not do that, though. Like,
I agree. I
like
agree.
it's like, do you how far do they go
I
with
think
it?
Pokemon does some really cool stuff balance wise. I actually want to use this to jump over to what Bruno said in the chat, which said, "Give us
Oh
Frostbite."
yeah.
My friend Donald's actually here. You might have seen him in the background, but he actually was the one who like told me that like the way that Pokemon does things is actually pretty cool as is. Like Frostbite being a lame idea, because like Burn being the halves the physical damage and there not being a special counterpart, it would be a lot
Mhm.
less interesting if the game was just like exactly balanced the same way for physical and special, but it's not. We have
actually
like
would
Assault
agree.
Vest for special, Intimidate for physical, Burn for physical, and generally physical attackers feel like they're like a little bit stronger, or they have like crazier like
Asymmetry.
stuff. So like the asymmetry does just make for interesting game design, genuinely. And he works in
I
games. Whether or not you think he does a good job is up to you. You can go yell at him on his Twitter if you're a fan of Clash Royale. But
I
go ahead,
I do
James.
agree for them, because like some of the things I've always like kind of about was like, I don't think you should remove crits. I don't think you should remove these. I don't think they're like so game ruining to the point where like we need to completely delete these things from existence, because at the end of the day, like they're still trying to make a game that's an RPG. We just so happen to make it essentially like a half and half RTS, like chess poker hybrid thing. But like I think it does make it just inherently more interesting. There are more dynamics at play. It's not like you can't have things that are similar to that, but like I definitely think like when I think of like balance patches, I think more along the lines of things like how Dondozo was just broken for like 3 months before they decided to patch it out because they didn't want to just like enter a hot fix and
It
then
was a
like have
bug.
to
It was a
deal
bug. It was a bug. Of course, it was a
It
bug.
was a bug in air quotes.
the bug, quote unquote. Just like how like if you copy a Max Guard Pokemon and it's like Trick Room, we purposefully did that, guys.
Dude, the Weezing one.
Excuse
Remember
me.
the Weezing one? They came after me for that one, dude. I was so sad.
Yeah.
That was a
But
bug.
like I think a lot of those things that are apparently bugs would be rectified a lot quicker and don't necessarily have to go through like we'll fix it when we feel like there's enough things worth fixing in the game at this allocated point in time to release a like a patch that fixes X problem. Now you really, again, with like we mentioned, that dedicated team of people working behind the game, and they aren't like trying to, make new areas, make new characters, story, do literally everything on Earth. They can really focus more on like, oh yeah, we saw that Dondozo decided to like ignore protect again, or like wide guard makes Z moves like cut in half again. We can fix that instantly. That's not an issue, and we don't have to really ban anything. That was even like a problem with the 3DS era. The wide guard thing with Z
Dude,
moves
that
took, like,
wide
one
guard one was
fix.
so funny. I was
Yeah,
kind of
there was,
cool
like-
with it because it was a way to keep Z-moves chill.
Yeah,
But,
it was
Uh,
cool. Like
do you think-
Z parting shot and Memento had that issue, and they took forever to get
Mhm.
patched out. It's just a lot
there was some
snappier.
game crashing ones. Yeah. Mom, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, do you ever think they'd be like, "Hey, this Pokemon is extremely strong. What if we like lowered its base stats?" In
I
our
think they won't
game?"
do that, but maybe they could just take it
Yeah.
out. They might just take it out genuinely. Like if they
Or-
want to just
or
trim the
pay
decks,
for
they
the-
can just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
I think the way it will go likely is that we're either going to in Champions. I wouldn't be shocked if we either got formats by generation, or the game would update to follow the latest generation. I kind of hope it's the former rather than the latter, just because I think having older generation mechanics present on the game would be really excellent for just legacy content, old formats.
Oh, I don't think we'll get that one, sadly, just because it's spaghetti.
That might be a little too complex.
Yeah,
Might be wishful
they'll never like
thinking.
undo the dark immunity to prankster or something like that. We're
Oh
never gonna,
God,
like,
yeah.
you know.
But
Stuff like that.
yeah, I think having, if I had to guess, the game will probably update to the most recent mechanics from a quote unquote like mainline game, which will probably affect
Right,
Pokemon
right.
stats and things like that. So I wouldn't be shocked if there are things like a lot of people are very scared of on Mega Game. I wouldn't be shocked if like something happens in Gen 10 that just removes it from Gengar's like move kit, and the game just updates,
Yeah.
and like your Gengar suddenly only has 3 move slots instead of 4.
Mhm.
Just things like that, or like obviously with the way home works, like this Pokemon has X moves, but if you transfer it to this game, it's not going to have those anymore. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to implement something that way, just to make sure things aren't getting out of control. With like what you can filter in and out.
Oh yeah, so we had a
I think-
question from Pokemon Ranger Emerald earlier saying, what are we doing in December? We don't actually know yet. This game, we don't actually know when this game's coming out. It's rumored to come out in January, but yeah, we're gonna have to wait for December and potentially January. Rules might just be on Scarlet and Violet still. We know that this will be played at Worlds though, so it's coming out in time for that at the very least. Audie, go ahead.
And just the way that the season is structured, I'd be shocked if this came out in January, just because we're playing Reg H through the end of November, and then December 1st is the start of the new format. And they're not, even though we don't have any regionals, I believe, in that month, they're not going to just say, well, there's no tournaments in this month. There still are locals to be played. And so I think that to me signals that there's going to be another 3-month chunk, probably December, January, February, where we go
I'm hoping to
play another format on Scarlet and Violet.
Could be.
And I think that no, because like They
I'm
also
with you.
someone brought this up at Worlds when we were talking about it. They also need to give us time to like get the resources in game to build out
Fair.
teams.
Fair.
I think
True.
someone was saying that you might have to like unlock Pokemon to be able to use them as well. So like it's not a given that just right as Champions releases we start using it in tournaments. I think there's going to be maybe a month or so between that, and so I would expect a January or February release, and then we start using it in tournaments starting in maybe March. Is my prediction.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's I would say the way Scarlet and Violet, or like Sword and Shield, the Scarlet and Violet transition worked, where like I don't want to say like they'll just like be like, all right, don't play the game for like this X amount of time, because the beginning, the downtime between Sword and Worlds like 22 to Scarlet and Violet starting was a very weird part of time where, like, granted, you did have time to kind of get things together in game to make your teams, but I wouldn't be surprised if the game did release in December, and then they were just like, there's no major events, but there are locals and stuff like that, but it's kind of like a period where you can amass things together to bring to the next games. Because if I had to guess, I don't think Champions is just going to be a, buy the Pokemon in the game kind of thing. I'm assuming that is probably an alternative method to let players that don't have as many resources as other ones or like prior games get access to these tools in some way, shape, or form. If I had to guess, you're probably allowed to transfer in Pokemon from your prior games and just unlock them automatically that way. Um, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked if it was something like that.
They've
But I
announced
think
some of that. I think you can transfer from other games, and then also you can like rent certain Pokemon, and when you battle online, you accumulate a currency that's not a paid one, but like a hey, I
yeah.
earned this, and then you can spend that, I think, to unlock and train new Pokemon. I
Okay,
believe they
yeah.
announced that.
So we
I
have
think
a
that makes
couple
sense.
of other topics to finish up with before we finish this episode. So I'm going to just speed us along through these last couple here. Somebody mentioned in the chat that some regions will still be using Scarlet and Violet. I did see that highlighted in this tweet here. Definitely a little bit unfortunate. I think somebody else might have pointed out that it could be related to microtransactions. And like not being legal for competitive games or something like that in certain areas. So that wouldn't surprise me. Definitely unfortunate if that's like the case for regions like permanently. I don't know what that will mean long term. Like they just might even discontinue a circuit or something there if that's really the case. I mean, it'll be tough. But ultimately we'll have to just kind of see how that plays out. We talked about this one briefly. We were talking about like Terra and Mega being allowed in there. You guys are actually gonna have to help me out on this one. I haven't bothered to look it up. Is this Z moves, right? This is Z moves.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
And
this is what the Ultra Moon looks like the Z sign on it. I'm not
right,
sure.
that's
The
what made me
band
think
on
it's kind of like a Z. Called the Omni Ring, and it's going to be in the Onion Ring, as Rafa was mistakenly reading it the other day. Yeah, this is going to be in Champions, and it allows you to just kind of like umbrella term use all of the mechanics. And some people are saying that like, yeah, I might have like a space for an extra new one. It wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of like have this as like a filler item to like have the door open to adding new things. Now, I don't think they're going to introduce a ton of mechanics anytime soon. We only get them every generation or so. But maybe with Champions, they are working out the idea of introducing one brand new to Champions. Who knows what that could even look like, because the mechanics are also different from each other that we don't really know. But still cool that they have the they have the room for growth that way.
does seem like there's actually 2 spots. I would say, not to go like full
I believe it, yeah.
conspiracy. It does seem like there are 2 spots on the ring, because you can see all 4 ones we have. So like the bottom of the left side with the Terra, and the one on the right side with the Dynamax. There's enough room on the curve for like another one. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's like
I see it.
Gen 10 and 11. Oh dear God, that's an awful sentence to say.
Right.
Like Gen 11 Pokemon will be played on Champions, and they might just like update the game with a fresh coat of paint every time. I wouldn't be shocked if there was another mechanic that they add onto this.
Yeah. And this means that all of them are probably going to be coming back at some point in the years to come in VGC. So if you ever were like, oh, I'm so sad that I never get to play Dynamax VGC again, well, don't worry. I've got good news for you. It seems like Gigantamax Colossal will once again be across from you on the battle, or on your side of the battle, or both on your side and across from you in the battle in VGC back sometime in the future.
No, we were making up people now. This has never been said. Sorry, Alex.
I'm so excited, dude. It was really cool. All right. Pokemon XP. This is crazy. Honestly, it was heavily rumored. I don't know, leaks were going around, but then official confirmation for it about now that the worlds that it's like an anniversary worlds because it's 10 years since the last San Francisco worlds, as well as Pokemon's 30th anniversary, I believe. And so it's kind of a double anniversary there. And it seems like Worlds is now going to be 2 events. From what I've heard, I think Worlds, the competitive thing that we know it as, it will be inside Pokemon XP. So, like, you know, you're probably going to be participating in at least a little bit of this if you're playing. If you're only there for the World Championships, you might still, like, you know, see it, check it out a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't know a whole lot about it. It's just like, you know, basically going to be more like a convention than it is just like a tournament first and like a Pokemon gathering second. Like, it's going to be like maybe like a bit more of the reverse. Like, the tournament is going to be a little more secondary. It'll still probably have its own spotlight, of course, but, like, you know, now there's another event, another thing for people to come out there that has nothing to do with the tournament at all.
Yeah, and the big thing that I want to point out right away is that there is a registration. You need to buy passes really early. You can see the countdown on screen right now. So, yeah, that's coming up in September. Obviously, we'll mention it the week before on Top Takes, but yeah, you need to buy your passes way in advance. And if you are unsure if you are qualifying for Worlds, so half the people on this call, then it might be worth buying this pass ahead of time just in case.
And you do get refunded, right, if you qualify?
I don't know. I
believe that's a thing.
But
someone will correct me. I believe they did say if you qualify for Worlds, you will get refunded.
Oh, wait, so we don't have to buy this?
Well, James, we're in a very unique situation. I don't know what we have to do actually, but I think this is just like their general policy.
Oh, yeah, no, Monta's right. It says right here, we encourage you to register now. You won't want to miss it. Qualified players will receive a complimentary pass for themselves as well as 2 additional named guests. Cool. Okay, nice. And will be eligible to have those passes refunded if previously purchased. Nice. All right, that's a pretty cool.
All right, we're good then.
Policy. I like that. Like seeing that. Bruno says in the chat here, do you think XP will be a thing continuously, or is it only for the 30th anniversary? I think they're starting it within an anniversary, but I would not be surprised remotely if they just continue to do this, especially if it goes well. I think that Pokemon is a big enough franchise that they can do this. Like, it's a kind of a shock that they haven't been doing something like this already.
Yeah, this just. I'm sorry, Adi, go first.
Go ahead, Adi.
I was gonna say this is pretty groundbreaking as far as like strategy games go. I saw a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh content creators talking about how they wish they had this. So this is like the arena especially is like very cutting edge, but they're just growing it, right? They wouldn't be. We sold out a 5,000 seat arena, and we're gonna sell out more seats than that at the 18,000 seater Chase Center, right? So I think they'd be silly not to try to capitalize on how popular Pokemon is and continue to have these really, really big events where these are essentially conventions. And if any direction, I would think they would make it so maybe international are also more of a Pokemon convention, and they keep trying to branch out how these events are and how they attract more casual players to these events. Yeah, James, what were you saying?
I would say kind of most of the same things. I agree. I really like the idea. I think just the concept of like this whole Pokemon experience it's just really cool. It's kind of like a mobile Disney World. Like next year, you can kind of do like all the cool little Pokemon things around town. To me, it kind of feels like what they were trying to do in Yokohama, where they had a lot of like monitors and stuff like just set up for the event. And granted, that was kind of like a mess to a degree, but I think it will probably be a lot more organized here. Probably they've learned a lot of things, and there's going to be better communication and all. It just does seem like a really, really cool thing. Because I love Worlds as an event. I love kind of just getting immersed in it. Just being there and enjoying things with my friends, able to kind of things I would say that are more like experience oriented outside of just the main event might help divvy things up a little bit with how I would say like most worlds go, where there's like a big issue with like people kind of just amassing in areas like arena or the Pokemon Center, and they don't really ever die down, and it becomes static. I think it might spread the attention a little evenly amongst just like the spectators. But so it's not like necessarily that much of like a mess or a cluster. I also think that it might help as well with. I've always believed that there's kind of an issue when it comes to players and spectators. Like sometimes like one is treated worse than the other at Worlds or vice versa.
They want different
I
things,
think
to be
maybe
fair, right? You know, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
get it.
like I was say, I think giving spectators their own dedicated part of the pie, definitely really helps, and I think it will also allow for, very much spectator tailored experiences while also retaining player tailored experiences. Again, I think it's just the best of both worlds for everyone, and I think that I would say you also get a lot more people into it as well. Like it's just easier to integrate people that that don't know as much about Pokemon, by giving them like a very casual experience, and then you give the people that are more interested in the competitive side a lot more of their own experience. And again, I think just by having more in general, it's just a wider spread of people, and like it's more thinly spread out, by having it just take place across the entire city. Granted, there's probably gonna be a lot of people anyways,
Right.
but there will certainly be more breathing room for everyone on the staff. And
I'm excited for it, nervously excited, but like excited. You know, it seems
that's
cool. I
fair.
definitely could see some things going wrong with it. Like it's gonna be
The
brand
fire
new.
marshal.
The fire marshal. They invited him, dude. They invited him.
He's here. No.
It's the same guy. Yeah, that's crazy. Do we think Gen 10 revealed there? I have no idea, actually. I feel like Gen 10 might be further off. Who
No,
knows?
they would reveal it earlier, right? If anything, this is
Probably be
August,
like
and it
in
would be
February
coming.
of this year, no?
Yeah, I think so, because it's
Or, like,
most likely
next
to
year.
come out next holiday season.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
Maybe they're
it-
falling behind schedule, you know, because I feel like Scarlet and Violet already felt rushed. Maybe they want more dev time. That's why they got like champions.
But
I
this is
wouldn't
this is
mind
already
it.
an additional year on top of the normal dev time.
Okay, guys, they're a small company.
Okay.
Give them a break. All right, like they. All right. Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the last thing here, which is simply just this guy. Look at this guy. So
love this
fucking
guy.
love this guy.
I think I
It's
agree
so
with everybody saying,
good.
why was this not shown at the World Championships if it was released so soon after? Like, they definitely had everything ready for it. It definitely, it feels like a missed opportunity. This guy, I love it, though. I'm glad to see that everybody in the call is loving it as well. James,
I
what do you
love
think?
it, but
What do you
I don't think society could have handled another moment where like we watched this guy just like rip through Miraidon and Calyrex Shadow Rider. Granted,
I would love
it does get
it.
sucker punch. It does get sucker punch, but like
That's true.
I don't think I would have liked to see that again. I think what is it? I love this design. I love it so much because it feels just stupid enough. Like so it's not like out of the realm of obscurity and it's not outside of like the realm of ridiculousness, but like this is what I would have imagined like a Victory Bell. Like it's so dumb. I love it. I love his stupid like smiling face. Everything about the Pokemon just seems correct. There's a whole tangent I could get into about like people complaining about it being Gen 1 pandering and stuff like that. But like I would classify that as like giving Mewtwo and Charizard two mega forms that are supposed to be like these cool badass Pokemon. This feels perfectly in line for a Pokemon like Victory Bell. And I'm a guy that doesn't really like Mega Slowbro. I think that design is a little dumb. But this just feels perfectly in line for the Pokemon.
Yeah, it's
like
cool.
You've ever seen it in the anime. Just the way this thing looks, the way it's like pre-evolutions look. Weeping Bell is just like one of the stupidest Pokemon in existence. Like this is perfect. I would have never asked for anything.
What about you, Mont? What do you think of this guy?
Say, has anyone in here played Super Mario Sunshine?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, definitely
You know
that
the
vibe.
Yes.
first boss fight with like PD Piranha
Oh my
Plant, and you fill him up
God.
with water, and then you have to like ground pound on its stomach.
Yeah,
to me,
I
this
think
looks like This looks like you need to ground pound on its stomach to like kill it or something. Like he looks like PD Piranha when you shoot all
That's
the
totally
water
accurate.
and he fills up.
Adi,
That's
what do you
this
think?
but I like it.
Aesthetically, I love it. I loved watching the trailer and watching it like bounce around chasing things. I thought it was really funny. I think competitively we'll see how it goes because notably we have like Mega Venusaur that is very similar to this Pokemon type wise in terms of as having chlorophyll in a space form. So we'll see if it's actually usable. The description said something about it's sweet smelling acid melting steel. So it might have something like corrosion, or it might have a signature move that maybe hits steel types or something like that. I've seen some speculation about that, but that would be cool. So I would love to see this be competitively viable because it is such a like fun looking Pokemon. I am skeptical of that, but I do love it aesthetically.
Yeah, with how it always goes with these is they have to give it a good ability. You know, like I feel like the ability has to be good, whether it's unique or not. That will be the deciding factor. And then another thing that's like specific to Victory Bell is that it's actually like a mixed attacker, which is like a death sentence when it comes to having a well-balanced base stat total. But with Megas, they've shown that they're plenty happy to mix that up to use it to cheat to get more stats. So, you know, maybe it becomes a complete special attacker and the attack stat goes into its bulk, you know. It definitely looks like it should be bulky considering it's a big guy. I love it. I love it, dude.
I really... What is the first thing that came to mind when they mentioned like the corrosion thing, and I think a lot of people are assuming this guy's gonna or something in like ZA and you transfer as a champion. I really hope at this point I think this should have happened a long time ago. I would really love to see corrosion just get buffed to a straight like poison moves hit steel types now, because it's such a dumb thing that like the way it exists already is like, oh yeah,
it's very confusing. It is very confusing.
Now you can poison steel types. Haven't you ever wanted to do that? Like it's just like
singles players have.
Give me it all. Like just make it super effective on steel, and like you can also poison now. Like it just makes no sense.
Right? It is confusing that you can use Mortal Spin with a corrosion Pokemon and not poison a steel type, right? Like that is kind of silly too.
Yeah. That part was a mega bummer. It was like I had to like triple check the way the ability works. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, this doesn't work how I want it to at all. Bummer. But yeah, this guy really cool. I was also saying, I think on the flight home that because they had only shown us one mega, I was like, are they only adding like 10 megas to this game? I feel like because they are really slowly drip feeding them, you know, like they had given us just one, and this guy coming out, I don't know, it gives me a little more hope that maybe there's more guys. But yeah, I know that because like we know the starters will probably get some mega forms, and then we just have Dragonite, and there's got to be more than just that. But I'm excited to see what else we get in the future. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how many Hisuian Pokemon were added? Because I would assume probably like however many lines we got of that is probably roughly.
Oh, like regional forms for this potential game as well? Yeah. That's true. What are they called again? Would this be Kalos forms? But unless it's not Kalos anymore. I mean, like old Sinnoh was called its own thing. I can't imagine future Kalos is called a different thing, but like maybe.
I think it was like 10 or so Hisuian Pokemon.
25 total new mons from the game, it seems, is what Bruno's saying. So.
Okay, so I would probably say like around 25 new megas then, if I had to guess. Like that.
So some I think people are let's avoid leaks. I think there was a leak that had almost all the new megas. I don't know off the top of my head how many there are, but let's I think we should avoid talking about anything that we already don't have time or anything like that.
I don't think anybody has done anything yet, so thank you guys. But
yeah.
Cool.
Just look in the chat, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. But yeah, I think then there was so much to cover, and we definitely could have spent more time on some of the stuff, but I also want to respect the time of our guests and not keep them hostage here too long. Thank you guys so much for giving us your time, Mont and James, and I guess Adi, you too. Thank you guys for being here this whole time. I did forget to talk about Smart Monies at some point, whatever. I think Nails did the best because he guessed the guy that's Top Cut Worlds 3 years in a row. Good job, Nails. And yeah, I don't know. I think then we'll be back next week. I'm not sure exactly when we're doing it. Maybe Monday. We're trying to get
we're doing Monday.
Got it.
Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, I believe, is when we normally do it. So I think we're going to try to get Torviv and MDB on at that point because they both got top 8.
Yeah, we'll get some. We'll hear the European side because we actually didn't talk enough about how NA swept this one and did really good and stuff like that. I mean,
right.
Just because we're hashtag humble goats like that.
We're hashtag humble goats. You know it.
Also,
you
Alex,
know
I sent a picture in chat. Are you able to show that on stream?
I should be. Yeah. Let me see here.
Oh.
Let me see. Yo.
Okay, this is Zach's cat Charlie learning that I got top 4. I just thought the viewers who like Vern might also appreciate Charlie the cat. And my Chiempao is named Arlie after Charlie.
I gotta say, Mont, you like half jump scared me with this picture because the way that Zach is holding his hand is how you would hold your hand after like a proposal or something like that. There's no ring on the finger, but I'm like, are we just announcing this at the very end of Tub Takes? That'd be insane.
No, it's for 4.
It is just for 4. That is amazing.
But
funny. Yeah, definitely. When I saw it out of the corner of my eye, I was like, whoa. All right.
When's the first Tub Takes wedding engagement announcement?
True,
We need it. That's what we're looking for.
All right. Well, that's gonna be it for us this time. I'll figure out who we're gonna throw the raid to, but yeah, and then I guess we're gonna throw it over to Will the Gamer. Maybe doing so. We're definitely gonna be streaming Tub Takes next week. Maybe returning with some Reg H streams now that we're officially past the World Championships. But
we
yeah,
got
again,
a GC to prepare for.
We do have a GC to prepare for. Oh, you're right. All right. Thank you again to the guests and everybody else. You have a good night. I'll catch you guys around. Peace.